dogs, but that is as far as I go. So they do not go out of the neighborhood.
Yeah, they do keep your feet like comfy, I guess.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good
Uh,
morning. Good morning.
you didn't call me out. How did I ended up with so much that other stuff? 33%. That's all I was curious. I mean, you think it's because I've been trolling them? I don't know.
Oh, you're talking about LunarCrush. Yeah, I don't know. You'll have to ask John. So yeah, we are gonna have John from LunarCrush on. If you guys are not familiar with it, I did post a couple of tweets about it. So it's basically a social intelligence app that collects data on like social activity for crypto and for NFTs and even for stocks too. So you could check like the top influencers per coin. You could even check what your activity is. Like, where do you rank in this whole world of crypto and NFTs and the type of impact that you're having? Yeah, I was shocked to see that Solana was in my top mentions. Now I'm getting comments that I'm a Solana maxi. Like, how did I get here?
Wait, you're not a Solana
I
Maxi?
love it. I love it.
I am not a Solana maxi. Like, BNB should be on the top of that list. So I'm gonna be working to fix that.
Well, I haven't seen you promote Bonk or Franc. I think is that the new one that's been all over. I haven't even looked at that one yet to see what that one's been doing.
I
But
don't
you have
even
Yeah.
know. I wish I would have known ahead, Bonk, because I would have not diamond held it. I think I got some on November on Christmas Day or some shit like that, and I didn't look at my wallet. I had no clue, but man, I could have sold it and made some money.
Yeah, great stuff. Yeah, I do see John is here and Dal's here. Dal, good morning. Welcome. Where are you in the world today?
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm back in Medellin. Just got back an hour ago. Ending my travel back home. So 70 degrees, sunny, back to normal.
you're our jet setter. I love it.
Yeah,
It just
I wish I
Good
could
morning.
fly business, but give me some time. If crypto goes up, man, if we all stick together, we can all fly business. That's my dream.
John, good morning. Welcome.
Hey Jess, thanks for having me. Where am I? I'm in California, in soggy California, where we have two more storms coming our way this weekend. So needing a little bit of a break from all the rain here.
I'm jealous. I love California. That's where my heart is.
Yeah, you're up and early. I'm sure you have your coffee and are ready to go.
I do.
Sorry, so early.
I do. It's quite all right. Quite all right.
All right. Well, let me give my little disclaimer and then we'll get started. Yeah, we'll talk to John a little bit about LunarCrush. I was already getting questions about all the things I was posting this morning. So I'm sure you're going to have yeah, Leo was upset that he is the number one Safe Moon influencer on LunarCrush. So yeah, no, but definitely getting a lot of questions. But yeah, thank you everybody for coming. Episode 2 of Crypto and Coffee. Just a friendly reminder, nothing said here is financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. And yeah, shout out to our partners at Binance US. Over 140 crypto assets, no trading fees on BTC and ETH. You can check out my pinned tweet. But yeah, I hope everybody's having a great week. I'm on my third latte, so I'm ready to get this going.
You say the third one.
Yes, I'm on my third one. I've been up since 6 though, so that's pretty good, right?
Wow.
I drink coffee all day, so you doing good.
I think I'm on like 3 myself. Good morning, everybody, by the way.
Good
Good morning,
morning. Good
Nico.
morning. It
I just
all.
want to say good morning to everybody below. Nancy, sorry, Jess. I just want to say hello to family.
I have a
Yeah,
really
thank everybody here. Yeah, glad to have you guys here. Thank you for coming. But yeah, let's kick it off. John, welcome. So we're gonna talk a little bit about LunarCrush. So I'm pretty familiar with the app. I've used it in the past, but for those in the audience that might not know what it's about, do you want to just give us maybe an overview?
Sure. So LunarCrush captures the pulse of the crypto community. We also look at NFTs. We also look at stocks, which is outside of crypto. And what we do is we really collect all of the social activity across all of these assets, and we try and make sense of it. So on a daily basis, we collect anywhere between 3 to 5 million posts. Those run through our system. They get scored, analyzed using machine learning. They get classified per asset, and we look at a lot of different dimensions in regards to social. So, and let's just give an example. So there might be a post that someone that posts about Bitcoin, and we're looking to see, well, on a daily basis, how many people posted about Bitcoin, and then we dive deeper and we say, well, how much engagement was within each of these posts? Meaning, were they empty, or was there a lot of, if we're talking, say, Twitter, likes, retweets, comments, was there a lot of stuff going on there? We also look at the sentiment of it. Was it bullish, very bullish, all the way to very bearish? Was it spam, or was it legitimate? Was it from a human, or was it from a bot? And actually, on the bot front, we also look at spam. We actually collect spam and we analyze spam. We try to see where the spam trends are and why they exist and why they're there. And we also look at who posts. So if I posted something about, say, Litecoin, or Charlie Lee posts about Litecoin, that's two very different things. I'm probably not going to be very influential for Litecoin, but Charlie Lee is. And so what we do is we also look at all of that, and we create lists of influencers per asset, as well as globally across the asset classes, meaning your stock influencers have no impact on the crypto influencers, and vice versa. And so we do that, and where it gets really interesting is when we combine this with market data. And so, when you look at things like I'll give an example, Aptos. So Aptos has soared since the start of the year, and it's not just from a price perspective. It's not just staring at the price charts and trying to make sense of it. We layer in the social data with price data and other market data, and we try and make sense of, okay, great, great that there's a lot of mentions on a coin, but are people putting their money where their mouth is, or is there just a lot of talk about something? And so when you ladder those things up together and create some really amazing metrics with different data across market and social, you get magic. You get a lot of really cool things that happen, and you start to identify some trends that are going on. And it's sometimes not just about specific assets, but also more of like an investment theme. You start to identify some things. Like, for example, many on this space have noticed that AI and data is a big trend, thanks to ChatGPT as an example. That's a big trend. And we typically see anything that's playing in the data space, right now is doing really well. Anything that's playing with AI is doing really well. And, I don't want to say that that's going to continue or not, but I'll just say that there's a lot of mentions and there's a lot of price movement around that. So that's our current iteration of LunarCrush. There's a lot of change coming, but yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah, and speaking of AI, I mean, is that going to be a challenge for you guys? Are you able to detect like AI social posts versus real humans?
Yes, very accurately. And I would say that it's not something that, okay, one day we got together and magically fixed it. How it works is it's sort of like we developed an initial model of saying, hey, you know what, what does the account look like? Are there no followers? Are there 87 emojis in every post? Are there 25 tickers in every post? Is it the same kind of other posts that we've identified with other users? And when you do something like that, you kind of put a model together, I think you could expect to maybe be half right if you're lucky. And then over time, you identify other patterns, and the system identifies other patterns. And then you start to get up to 55% and then 60%. For spam, we've gotten up in the upper 90s at this point. So the spam detection is very accurate. What's harder is sentiment detection. And to be honest, we're not even fans of sentiment, even though we do it, because there's all sorts of nuances there. And a good example would be, look at some of our biggest bears. You could say, whether it's Peter Schiff or Nouriel Rubini or any of these people that are like, get out, Jim Cramer, right? He's a hot topic. Get out of crypto now. Like, right, there's all this negative sentiment. And if I told you that we only said like, ooh, because Jim Cramer said that, you need to get out of crypto now. There's an element of sarcasm, an element of being uneducated. There's an element of personal belief. And just because one person feels a certain way, that doesn't necessarily mean everyone does. And so, sentiment's a tricky animal, and we want to do more with it and get much, much more accurate at it. But it's sort of like, I think you should look at AI as like a path. It's like there's never a moment in time where it's perfect, and there's always nuances. But as far as spam goes, we've gotten very good at spam.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think just the way that you're able to integrate the social sentiment with crypto is important. So this is a speculative market, so social sentiment of what people are talking about or what's trending is important to know and to analyze those that data in this market. But yes, and then. So we have, what about like the mix between crypto and NFTs? Like a lot of us do overlap. Is the data and analytics for that currently separate? And any plans, if it is, any plans of maybe a way to merge those analytics?
I mean, I think the way that we look at it is like specific assets, right? If you're talking about, Mutant Ape Yacht Club, um, that's what you're talking about, right? And if you're talking about Ethereum or if you're talking about Solana, that's what you're talking about. And so we look at it more on an individual basis versus like all together. If a person in one of their Twitter accounts is talking about both, they're influential on both. Yes, they could be an influencer on both. It's not like one is detracting from the other. So they are separate. But I think it's where it really breaks down is stocks, and in the future we may even look at other assets. Um, and so if I told you that you were an influencer for an NFT, that may not make you a Tesla influencer, unless you're really influential on Tesla. And so what we find is these are very different types of people. The overlap, we're actually shocked ourselves even. I mean, the overlap between NFTs, NFT influencers, and then the cryptocurrency influencers and the stock influencers, it's like completely almost separate. So it's just interesting. And that's not us, that's actually just the people themselves.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It makes sense. Nico, go ahead. I see Nico has a question.
So I because I haven't gotten a chance to go through the website, but I wanted to ask. So I'm looking at this, and you provide all of this information, but can we manipulate the information in there?
I mean, in what way?
Like, let's say you're looking at something, and I want to look at something different, but you have the data for it. Like, do you provide APIs or anything, or is it just like what is this, a social platform on top of it? Like, what is this exactly?
Analytics. So it's analytics. It's not trying to be a community at the moment. It's not a social network in of itself. It is pulling in data from many different social networks, and it's going very, very deep into it. So you could think of it, if we're talking Twitter, it's the fire hose of data, and that is pulling what it's pulling in. It's not looking at all of Twitter. It's looking at many, many variants of like the names, the tickers, the hashtags, and all of that. It's looking at that on that side. And then it's also looking at real-time market data, which is pulled from many, many sources. And so, we look at that, and some of it's on chain, some of it's from exchanges. There's a lot of different data sources. And so all of that's brought into our system. I mentioned earlier, like it's up to 5 million posts a day at some points. And it actually is updating everything in real time, even into our interface. And then, from there, we actually even on our own have our own API. And so we've got, for example, if you went to Coinbase, Coinbase has a public/explore section. A lot of the data on that page, it comes from us. And so we've got lots of exchanges using that data. We have analysts using our data. We have large financial firms on Wall Street using our data, large exchanges using our data. So there's a lot of different things going on there. And some of those people are building some really cool applications out of this stuff that I can't say too much about, but really interesting when others have tested our data and they're even back testing it and they're throwing it together in their applications. So it's pretty cool to see.
Everything is really interesting, but I have a follow-up question. So you pretty much take social data. Are you taking, like, I don't know if it's possible. I'm not even sure if it's possible, but there's like an enormous amount of people in cryptocurrency. Like, it's a much bigger bubble than Twitter and a couple of other, like on Telegram. Are you guys taking any data from there?
So it's complicated to answer. So, but we're looking primarily Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, some Facebook, Reddit. Reddit's a major source. Telegram and Discord, we look at those as sort of, there's a couple dimensions there. We sort of look at like, the growth of communities and things like that. But the discussions themselves are pretty complicated, especially on Telegram when you have one feed of just kind of crazy sometimes. And we've actually done a lot of testing on Telegram, and it's sort of like the amount of spam is insane. And the amount of like these fake accounts that are coming and going is actually also insane. And we see that there's a lot of manipulation on those on Telegram specifically. And Discord, from an architecture perspective, it depends, right? Because some of these Discords are like not constructed very well, and there's an immense amount of garbage in them. And others are actually really, really like involved and have community moderators and all this stuff. So I think it, when we look at these more closed kind of networks where people have to join, like Discord, it's a little bit different in terms of the functionality, and that's an area we do want to go deeper in. But it's, in our initial tests, it's been difficult to actually find a proper signal to then come back and display that on our site from an analytics side. So yeah, we'll be doing more on that side. But
Thanks, John. Great questions, Nico. Matt, good morning. Welcome.
Hey, good morning. First time listener here on the show. Well, I enjoy being here. Kind of nervous. But yeah, John, quick question. I've been using LunarCrush for like a couple. I've been using LunarCrush and I see like the evolution. What you guys are gonna do with Lunar? What's going on with Lunar?
so I'd say when you look at, I didn't mention our token. So we have a token, Lunar, LUNR, and what that does, at least in the current moment, I think if you look at it, we look at it from like an evolutionary side of like, where are we and how mature is it? Launched a year ago, right? We literally launched the day of Bitcoin's high. That was good timing, wasn't it? And the way that it works is that users on our site, they can earn Lunar, and as they earn Lunar, they level up. And when they level up, they get greater access to like longer time frames, more proprietary metrics like our alt ranking galaxy score, which is really cool. It's combined with market and social data to give you these really cool signals. You get real-time insights. You get a real-time dashboard that's fully customizable. You can build as many dashboards as you want. And so we look at it where we are right now is like, it started with, okay, how do we distribute this to a very, very wide audience? Because when we first started LunarCrush, we actually had a paywall, by the way. When we first launched, it was like just 3 of us working on this thing. And, we had a few hundred people sign up and they're paying some money every month. And we're like, you know what, this isn't what we want to do. We want to make this data more widely available, and we want to change the model. We don't just want to build another Netflix style subscription platform. It's not even native to this space. It doesn't make sense. And so when we looked at Lunar, we said, okay, this is an opportunity for us to create very wide adoption. And we have, I think, about 60 to 65,000 current holders, which is a big number considering where the market's at right now. And so when you look at where Lunar is at, it's been about how do we involve a very wide community? how do we distribute this to a very wide community, which is another challenge in of itself, because we don't just want a few people to hold the lion's share of the token, because it has a maximum supply, and at some point it runs out. And when we look at what's happening right now, the number of holders is skyrocketing. It's going up a lot, and we're eventually gonna run out of that token, and it changes the model. And we know that when you run out of token, it's not about price, and we don't talk about that. It's more about there's way more interesting models that start to creep up that you'll see in the future that are involving the token. But right now it's been about distribution. The next phase of it is going to be about using it. And so, and I mean using it beyond just hold 2,000 Lunar to get access to more data. There's going to be many more things that we are currently building around. And I'd also say there's another application in there, and it's staking, and it just helps people hold it for a longer period of time. And there's a lot of people that have more than 2,000 Lunar, and they want to do something with that Lunar. And so again, over time, I would say the things that you're going to see us build are going to be more like microtransaction like things that happen on like a one-off basis. And we're really, really excited about it. And I would also say that, everyone wants to know what's to come. And I would say, stay tuned in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Probably the biggest thing we've ever launched is going to be happening. It somewhat relates to the token, and it somewhat doesn't. It's something completely different. So, but yeah, a lot is to come for the token for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I was shocked that because I hadn't used that. I used to use that a lot last year during the bull run, and I started using it recently. I'm like, hey, what is these tokens that I'm gaining for like doing what I just normally do on the app? So that was really cool to see. I'm gonna go to Dow, and then I'll circle to Death and Laguna.
Hey, John, great to have you here. I'm curious about like the different platforms that you guys are covering. Like you covered Twitter, Telegram, and a few others. When you try to, or when you compare it with the market, right, you get some correlation. Do you see some patterns where maybe Twitter is a little bit ahead in terms of what happens in the market, and Telegram is more of a lagging indicator? Or can you say like there's specific insight to get from specific platform that you guys are covering?
Yeah, I love that question. So, and we get that a lot. And so, we have done a lot of back testing on a lot of different things. And, I would say that it's really everything, right? Like there are times that something comes out, like some news comes out, and then the price moves. And there are other times that like the price moved and there was like a lot of chatter, like it's like you never know. You basically never know. I mean, look at, for example, the other day with Avalanche, right? Avalanche announced that there's a partnership with AWS. It's more B2B oriented blockchain kind of stuff. And price went crazy, right? I think, and that's kind of just, and it happened all at once, right? But the news was out, the price moved. And so another example though would be like I'll give a more of a movement instead of a specific coin. If you look at like Fetch, which is an AI platform, you look at Ocean Protocol, which is a data platform, you look at Graph Protocol, like look at the graph. Those three, what are they? They're basically the data and AI side of things. Well, this ChatGPT $29 billion valuation, okay, well, crypto actually has a major place in the future of AI. And so what are those plays? And so when you looked at something like Fetch, in fact, I'm pulling it up on our site here. When you look at Fetch, the price in the past week is up 92.15%. It's gone from 12.1238 to 0.2487. Well, that's just looking at price. Along the way, social mentions, so price went up 92%, social mentions went up 311% during that same period of time. And it wasn't like they happened after the fact. They happened before, in between, ongoing. And I think that right there is more the perspective to have on social data. You tend to see a lot of mentions precede price movement, quite a lot, but that's like a point in time. It's much, much more interesting when you see things happen over a longer time frame. Because, you know, like I'll give the example of Fetch, which is ticker FET. I'm not advocating for them, just giving them as an example. When you look at that, it's one thing to look at it one moment in time and say, okay, so did the social mentions happen right before that price moved? It depends. Is your trading style to day trade? And are you going to trade 38 times a day? Or do you like to look at positions that continually show promise? And if it's the latter, you end up in a situation where if you're the token that you keep like trying to stack and add keeps moving up in terms of community size, that's a really interesting thing, right? I mean, it's like, sure, one piece of news came out one day, but did you know that like constantly it just keeps growing the community? That is a really strong signal. And I would say, like, you know, we're going to do a lot more with like on-chain data and things like that and correlating that to social. But like when you look at like in general, if there's more and more people talking about something, why do people talk about a specific cryptocurrency? In general, that relates to more wallets, and we've looked at that. It absolutely does. And why would someone have a wallet other than to trade and to hold it? And so I think if you look at it in general, like over time, longer term, I think that's the perspective to look at. But yeah, there are sure some short-term moves as well. And that's, you know, I mean, I guess again, it just depends on your trading style and what you're trying to achieve.
Great question, Dale. Great and great answer, John. Great explanation. I'm going to go over to Death and then Laguna, and I do have a question in the DMs as well. Go ahead, Death. Welcome and good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me up always, Jess. My questions were kind of goes back to what Nico had asked before. Is the API open, and do you guys plan to, if not now, make the code open source in the future?
I'm sorry, did you say the code for LunarCrush open source?
Correct.
I mean, elements of it, yes. Elements of it for sure. Especially when we're going to do more with blockchain data, and there will be elements of that that absolutely will be open sourced, definitely.
And the for you guys today, is your API open?
It's currently a paid subscription for that also integrates our token. So it's sort of you pay per call, and like however whichever endpoint that you're hitting costs a certain amount. And you know, we've got a lot of users. This is also a utility of Lunar, but people can also use a credit card there. And so like we've got, you know, like an endpoint for all sorts of different things related to cryptocurrencies, NFTs, and stocks, different endpoints, different kinds of things. And again, it depends that the price of that is, again, pay per use. It's not like a monthly subscription or anything.
Great.
Thank you for the answers.
Sure.
Death, who is the #1 influencer for XRP? Have you looked yet?
No, and I'd probably rather not know.
I'll look and I'll report back. Laguna, welcome. Good morning. Did you see that my top mention for this week was Solana?
Yeah. you gotta get tweeting some other blockchains. BNB is gonna get jealous.
I know.
Tell
There's
them to have
nothing wrong
a
with the
coin, I guess, is what they need to do, that you'll mention them more. I have a question about NFT data, and that has to do with like the profile picture. Because for me, when I see stuff on my timeline and somebody is shilling something, but they also have the matching profile picture, I just discount that because it's, you know, it's like it's your own bags. And I was wondering, like, do you take the profile picture in account as you decide whether something is moving, or as you know, as we're talking about influencers at all?
Not yet, but I will tell you that there's definitely work that we're going to do there around like your PFP and trying to make sure that like how many people in that community are like actually using that collection's images as part of their PFP and all that. And so I think there's a lot that we want to do there. And I think it is an interesting thing when you start to look at not just the profile picture. I mean, I just would break that down differently. I would say diving deep into the media that is associated with the profile and posts of someone's account. So like, we want to dive deeper into understanding we want to get more intelligent with like the media that's shared in someone's timeline. So, because profile picture is one thing, but within every post, what is the content, not just the text, but like, are there logos and images that they're sharing, and can we detect what those are and things like that? So
Like
we were definitely doing more there.
Like the Pudgy Penguins memes, for example, they're real. Even if you don't have a Pudgy Penguin profile picture, but have a Pudgy, you'll be someone who might use their memes a lot. That's so smart. I love that. How do you handle people who have a big following that were really influential in the space, maybe during the bull market, but they're not tweeting about the topic anymore? Like someone like, say, Gary Vee, who's been sort of a little bit more absent in the Web3 space, but still like tweets really actively.
Yeah, great question. So I think and this is another interesting thing. Let's use there's crypto conferences, right? And a lot of times those crypto conferences will hire an influencer to lead the conference sometimes, or to be the keynote speaker. And it's funny because there are many people that are like generally influential, I would call it. Like they're a name out there in the space, but they may not necessarily specifically relate to individual cryptocurrencies. So like, if, for example, if I said I was an influencer and all I did ever was say crypto, I don't ever get specific, I don't ever talk about anything, I'm not actually talking about specific projects, am I influential over those projects? And the answer is probably no. I might be an influencer, you might know about me. I think, let's use, I don't want to say his name too much, but that Andrew guy that just got arrested, like, he's an influencer. He's not like a specific like Bitcoin influencer. And then even if he were, he might be one day because he starts posting about it and then stops posting about it. So he might be an influencer for a day, but is he an influencer over a week, a month, a year, 2 years, all time? Probably not. And another example would be, you might remember, it was, I think, 2 years ago, J.K. Rowling came in and starts asking about Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? She was influential for like a 24-hour period, or maybe it was even a week. And then she fell off because she stopped talking about crypto. And so I think when you look at like, frequency matters a lot. And here's a crazy stat. On a daily basis, people that are ranking very influentially for specific assets, they're posting anywhere between 15 to 40 times a day. And they also get deep engagement on every single post. And their following typically is relatively growing faster and greater and larger than most other individuals. And their following is active. There's a lot of people with big followings, and those followers are empty. They're not engaging. Those followers have no followers. Those followers are bots. And so when you look at activity, engagement, and following over a time period, it takes effort. It's literally a job to rank high as an influencer. And this is one of those things of like, when you start to look at this from like a multifaceted approach, it's really hard to game in any sort of time frame. I think so time frame and influence matters a lot. So I just said a lot. Hopefully that answers some of your questions.
Yes, it answers my question perfectly, and then sparked a couple more in my head that I will keep for later. My last immediate question was, have you considered, you mentioned the word crypto in the process. Have you considered tracking like crypto and blockchain and Web3 in this space? Because I feel like that's also an area where people are sort of using different language, but really still talking about, say, NFTs or say Ethereum in the process.
Yeah. So I think there's many ways to kind of unload that, and there are some things that you'll see us launch in the next few weeks that relate to blockchain data. And I think it also goes into like, well, what does it look like when wallet growth and social mentions for a coin also, like, what does that look like? What about the number of like on-chain transactions and social engagement? And so when you kind of look at that stuff together, it's sort of, there's a lot there. And blockchain is like a loaded thing because like when you really want to analyze it, you literally need to run a node to pull it in and grasp it in real time. Otherwise, it's extremely slow. It's not like some service that you can pull from, but yes, there's definitely a lot of blockchain data that we're gonna use coming up.
Thank you so much. So helpful.
Great questions. Great questions. I did have a question in my DMs, John. Does information in your bio matter? For example, if I have like a hashtag or a crypto token symbol in my bio, does that matter as far as like influential rankings?
Yes, yes, it does. And I would say it's not a LunarCrush thing. It's more of a findability thing. It's sort of like look at it from the standpoint of Google. If Google was going to pull, like if you just typed in Bitcoin in Google, why is what's coming up there at the top? And it's because it's relevant, and it's because in a sense it has engagement, and it has a lot of activity, it has a lot of and it has a lot of relevance. And so I'd say just for your own purposes of getting found on Twitter, I would strongly suggest that you post your top level things that you stand for and advocate for in that bio, because it definitely helps people find you for sure.
Enrique's had his hand up for a few minutes.
Good
Good
morning,
morning,
Enrique.
welcome.
Hey friends, how are you? How are you, Tammy? How are you, Jess?
Doing well, doing well.
Great. Hope you are too.
I am. Thank you for always opening these spaces. I love them. Sometimes I cannot listen to them, but when I see them, I jump in. Hi, Dao. Hi, Leo. What is Leo doing here? Hey, Daniel.
What's
And
up?
how are you, buddy? I gotta give you a hard time all the time. uh, but hey, I almost made David the other day buy a Toyota, so you owe me for that.
Cheap, cheap,
Uh,
cheap.
I see good people in there, TJ, Monty, Stefano, and all of you, Nancy. Love you guys. I wanted to say something, John. Nice to meet you, man. I'm part of a project that have been on the space for a year and a half, and I check LunarCrush like on daily basis to check stats and stuff like that and learn about data. And I started as a mod on Telegram actually, and that was year and a half ago, a year and 7 months or something like that. And I ended up now being team member because of working so hard all the time and things like that. You end up being part of the team, and the data regarding to Telegram and Discord, for example, we have seen in our
Okay,
project
we
that.
lost John. We lost John. He might have gotten rugged. Let's give him a minute to come back. Enrique. So what
Oh,
that
of
was the
course, of
question.
course. Yeah.
It looks like he dropped off. Oh, and by the way, I'm actually looking at Rise, and Enrique, you are the number 10 top influencer for Everrise for the week. So congratulations.
Thank
Congrats.
you.
That's awesome.
Thank you, yes. Thank you, Tammy. Yeah, we're having some things that are coming and people is really excited. So it's been like they are really supportive and it's a beautiful community. And I love that we have come closer to other communities and it's amazing. We're all building something. I gotta be honest. I love that we have been on this bear market together. It has been rough for all of us. Kudos to all of you that are here because it's something that I haven't lived before, and I'm proud of all of us. These people that is here is every day here, so thank you for that, Jess, Tammy, and everyone here.
Always, always. I think John is back. John, I think you dropped off. I was just telling Enrique he's number 10 for Everrise as the top influencer of the week. But yeah, so are you back? Let's see if John's back.
I'm back. I don't know what happened. I'll just consider that the par for the course of Twitter Spaces, I guess.
Yeah, just a typical rug,
Yep.
Twitter Spaces rug. Yeah. Go ahead, Enrico. Go ahead with your question.
Yeah, John probably says fiat on spaces. Elon doesn't like that, like he does with David. John, nice to meet you, man. I work at Everrise. It's a project that has been a year and a half around, and basically, I check every day the trend, the data from LunarCrush. You guys are doing an amazing job because you basically are the reference that we have out there, and I feel like uh, you bring so much value, and now listening that you're gonna work with blockchain data and all of that, that's awesome. That's something verifiable, and I love that. And regarding to the data that we have, you were speaking about Discord and Telegram and all those things and socials. I would like to connect with you somehow and provide some different data, because the human factor is something really important in there. And in our case, being a project that is on DeFi and launched on BNB, for example, everyone was used to jump in Telegram first and checking there, the contract, this and that, and the website, and this is all comments. And we have done great. We actually have now 22 international channels. We have TA channel. We have governance channel. We have many things on Telegram. So Discord has that organized feeling, but also has like way less people. And I feel like I could help out with some of that data and provide some information so you can check it and get something from there. Is that okay?
Absolutely, yeah. Send us a DM on our Twitter handle at LunarCrush, and let's chat.
Of course, man. Keep
Awesome.
going with the group. The great job. Yes, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Tammy.
You're welcome, Enrique. Let's go to Laguna and then we'll circle back to Brooke. Hey, Brooke.
Yeah, I wanted to know about Spaces audio, because that's top of the world right now. Are you considering incorporating some of this Spaces audio? Is that something that's in your plans at all?
It absolutely is, and it's a little bit of a challenge.
Wow.
And so I think part of this is, it's not part of the API in its typical manner from Twitter. And there's more to it. Like the transcription isn't always accurate as well. And so we'd like to pull that transcription in, pull the attendees in. And so, yes, we are actually like talking to Twitter about that. And there's definitely more we want to do.
We all love Twitter Spaces, so that is definitely a plus. Yeah. I mean, yeah, some of us spend more time on Spaces than actually like tweeting and stuff. So yeah, that would be great to see. Really would be great to see. All right, let's go to Matt. Has his hand up. Go ahead, Matt.
Oh no, I put my hand up during what Laguna was asking about the social audio aspect. I'm pretty sure there's like a lot more interesting data sets once you guys in Twitter figure that out, because it's some people that might be like influential in NFTs. And then some people might be influential in talking about NFTs. So not necessarily like pushing one NFT project, but definitely having a conversation about one. So that's definitely something interesting to look at.
Great point. I have a quick question that just came to mind. So with views being integrated now on Twitter, is that something that you guys are maybe thinking about, integrating views in any of the data analytics?
Absolutely. We're looking at it now, actually. So yes, there's a whole nother metric there. And this goes back to like when you first asked me about LunarCrush. I think that's just yet another dimension to look at and to pull in. And it's really interesting. And it's really a different kind of thing. And I think it's really impacted all of our use of something. And I think we've probably all been surprised so far of like what happens if you respond to Elon or to some of these major influencers. You start to see your views go wild, and you're like, wow, that's really crazy. Because if you posted that same thing on your own timeline, you'd get only single digit, double digit, triple digit views, not 18,000, right? And so I think it's really interesting information, and we're absolutely looking into it. And I think too, it's also not just the original post views that's interesting. It's also all of the comments, and some of those comments within it get almost as many views as the original post. So I think it's fascinating what we're seeing, and yes, we're absolutely looking into it as yet another dimension within the data that we're looking at.
That is awesome. Brooke, what's up? Welcome. Good morning.
Hi, darling. I just getting my coffee and realized it was Friday. I don't know what day it is from day to day, but just getting caught up. The only thing I know about LunarCrush is that I did a video for the people, like, what was it? LA Blockchain Week that I was there speaking, and I think LunarCrush was sponsoring, and a couple of your social media people were walking around like getting little stories and snippets from people, and I had a snippet of there was some Brooke J. Lacey in one of your videos.
Nice.
But that was I liked that that idea of like doing little social media instead of somebody walking around with like a big camera. Anyway, I don't know if that's what you were even talking about your LunarCrush, but yeah, I love the topic of followers and views and data. I love data. It's silly when I bring this up, but in 2020, my TikTok grew to like 300,000 followers. And for me, it was so interesting to watch the analytics and like, who were these people? Like, what was the interaction doing for this particular data set of people, which in my case were single mom, Gen X age, like 70% of them. And then I would be able to like maneuver my content, whatever, it's early for me. Like make the content for them and then watch how they reacted to that. I don't know. I'm fascinated by human behavior and how we as like a single entity can change things for people. But it's the same thing with Twitter. So this is always very interesting. I love it.
Just
Nice to meet you, John.
yeah, nice to meet you too. Now I need to go back and watch that LA Blockchain Summit video. Um,
Well, they were asking like they had these great prompts. That was another thing that I was like really impressed by. Was they were walking around, they had these cards and there was a prompt on there instead of just like, "Hey, I'm Brooke and I like NFTs." Like it was very well like put together. So they asked what was the craziest thing that we'd bought with crypto, and I told the little Silk Road story, and they clipped out the drug part, but it was still funny.
yeah,
Hey,
that was Shifra on our team. She's awesome.
hey, this is Alon, by the way. I requested to hop up to speak just to say hi. And Brooke, there was a few iterations of that video. I'm the dude. I'm one of the guys who organized the LA Blockchain Summit. I met you with Wendy.
Yes, I
We had some
remember.
fun.
Didn't we meet?
Yeah,
Yes, and I told you I was not taking a picture by your ape. That was a hard pass.
we
Yes, hello.
but there's some different iterations of that LunarCrush video out there where they do include some of the stories of what you used crypto for, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I gotta see those.
It's either that the videos are out there, or my brain is so fogged and fucked up from such a long week at LA Blockchain Summit that I am mixing real life and video. But I think that video is out there. LunarCrush does a killer job on those videos. And as you can hear from my voice, I'm losing it and I'm on my way to get coffee. So I'm going to shut up. But I appreciate you guys. But Brooke had an epic little cameo in some of those LA Blockchain Summit videos.
So there's like a PG version and then there's like an R-rated version floating around. So yeah,
Okay, but that sounds really bad.
find them, post them, and let's look at them. I know we are coming up at the hour. I want to be respectful of John's time, but I have a question. So John, like any tips or tricks? So if I want to be the #1 BNB influencer, like what should I focus on?
Ooh,
Asking for a friend, right?
yeah, asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend, yes. Yeah, I got to get Solana out of my top mentions.
You love Solana.
Yeah, I would say if you could become best friends with CZ, I think that's a good start. Um, and then I think I would say like you're gonna need to post a lot about BNB and like every day. And I think you need to make sure that you're getting engagement from some of these other influencers. I think a really uh, simple place to start would be look at who's influential on BNB over the long term and like follow those people, engage with those people, get in there and start like working with them in some manner. And so that's kind of one step. I would say the other thing is it becomes like if you're really interested in BNB, to at least at a minimum follow these people that are influential on it. your timeline is going to become much more interesting to you if that's really what you care about. And so I think start engaging with those top influencers and really create content that's engaging yourself around it, which takes a lot of effort. I think what Brooke was saying to TikTok. Think of video content. Video content's like exponentially harder than just posting GM every day. And so it's like when you think about like putting a lot of effort towards high quality content, surround yourself with the right followers, and I hate to say it, but treat it like a job. Treat it like it's a consistent, constant thing that you're doing that you actually focus on to get the results you want. So it's
John,
effort.
can I add to that, to what she, like, as a tag into what you're saying?
Sure.
For I've been, like I've told you guys, I've been on LunarCrush for a while, and from the very beginning, like, they really track that stuff. For a long time, I was talking about SHIB, and then when I went to go check LunarCrush, like, I was a top influencer of SHIB, but then I saw my timeline, and the entire thing was SHIB, like retweets, posts, like. And I had my Twitter account since 2010, and it didn't feel organic. Like, my timeline didn't feel organic, so I stopped talking about it. Like, I still invested in it, but I just stopped talking about it because my entire feed was it didn't look representative of what I was actually doing on a day-to-day basis.
You don't want to be a she
I didn't
influencer.
want to be. Yeah, I didn't want to, but that's what it turned into. And as soon as I slowed down, the analytics followed. So if you are going to try to become a BNB influencer, like, that shit is really a job.
It's hard.
I will say this. Oh,
It's hard. It's
John,
competitive.
John, I will say the one thing she does have on lock, I do believe she's already CZ's bestie. You do have that one already, Jess.
Yeah, so to summarize what John's saying, find people that are influential and be their reply guy or reply girl, and just
Yes.
which most people already do. Like
Can I?
you said, people, when you reply to Elon's tweets, your views are out of control, and to other people, if you post something that's actually interesting and engaging.
Can I make
So,
can I give you a quick comment on that real quick? Like,
Yep, go ahead.
Instead of like, why not just look at what's going on the actual platform? Like, forget about the influencers, and like there's Pancake Swap. Look at what's going on Pancake Swap. Represent an NFT sold on Pancake Swap, something like that. Like, get something like that going instead. Make it a little bit more organic in some ways too. Because Matt's right about a couple of things. That's what ended up happening with like my YouTube channel. I didn't want to be the guy that everybody came to for a video game. So like, it's not instead, like, do like little subtle things, and like, you don't have to be like the BNB influencer. You could be Jess.
It
You know
was
what I mean?
It was a hypothetical question. It was not. It was
but
nothing direct to me.
It was
Just like, if
definitely.
somebody wants to be, move up in the ranks, like what? That was kind of like my question. But really quick, let's go to Leo and then Daniel, and then we'll wrap it up.
so I was a little confused because for the most part, when Jess does tweet, like for me, she tweets more about BNB than anything. So that's why I was a little bit weirded
I
out.
had
Like,
been tweeting about Solana, so it was in the past week, and with like Bonk and all that shit happening, like I had been tweeting about Solana. Yeah.
She's been talking a lot of trash about Ethereum. So for Solana fanboys, it's all love for Jess as well. So that can work out that way too.
Can I just say, I originally raised my hand because I don't see anybody's tweets. And then to top it off, like, I had a few people set up so that I can just get notifications when they go in spaces, and that's gone too. And it's like, okay, I don't even know what to do anymore.
That sucks. All right, let's go to Daniel. Go ahead, Daniel.
Hey, my question is...
Good morning, Daniel.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Tammy. Good morning, Jess, Dow, everyone here. Hey, my question is, how do we get Jess to be the top Solana influencer? Is that
she's
even
already
possible?
started. You didn't see her post this morning? She's good.
No, but is there possible for external to influence? Like, if I tweet her,
my God.
and if I tweet Solana a lot and I tag on my tweet her account, will that affect the data?
I mean,
That's what he was just saying.
Wait, Leo, let John answer.
In some regard, I suppose, yeah, but it's sort of like, it's not that easy. It's like, to be a top influencer, and again, you have to look at the over what time frame. One day, yeah, maybe if you get enough people doing this one day, cool. But then on a weekly basis, it's harder. On a monthly basis, it's harder.
Months.
On
So
a
you're
yearly
saying
basis,
there's a chance, right? So everybody just listen up, start tagging Jess on the Solana.
but
Now I do
just
have a real question, John.
yeah.
So I just noticed that I do have an account. I don't know when I opened it, but there's an account and there's an app and there's all kinds of cool stuff. But is there gonna be a I don't want to sound like an Ethereum maxi, but is it gonna be like a signing with Ethereum?
Yes,
That's so maxi, but
yes, and not just Ethereum.
Oh, let me look for my soundboard.
Yeah,
Or
and in fact, I would say,
what was that?
sorry, that's the confetti one. Sorry, go ahead, John. Sorry, it's a real question actually. I'm curious.
hold on, I
What's
had to give
happening?
you a clap emoji. That was awesome. Yes, so you're going to be able to sign in with many things. We're really all in on Web3, on blockchain, on-chain data. If anything, we know that the world needs more transparency right now. We aren't happy with a lot of the exchange activity that's gone on over the last year. We aren't happy with the entire last year, to be quite honest, as I'm sure most of us are. And so I think, we're looking at like what can we do to dive into Web3 much deeper, to dive into blockchain much deeper, on-chain data much deeper. And yeah, that includes letting users connect their wallets and things like that with their own preferences of which wallet that is and which chain that is. And so we're definitely all in on that, and we'll be supporting that soon.
That is amazing. Like, John, you have said yes to everything that we've asked for. So that is like great. Do you have a few more minutes, John? I see Bella
Yeah,
came up.
sure.
Bella, welcome.
GM, happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday.
Yeah, I'm going through all of this LunarCrush stuff. Not gonna lie, was way behind and had no idea what it even was. I just thought that it was like another Luna 2.0 or whatever. So I'm glad I popped in this Friday morning, but very excited to get in there and see what's going on.
Awesome. Glad to have you. I know we were talking about Avax earlier, so definitely you could tune in back to that and how the social impact changed because of the news this week, which we'll talk about later on.
I'll be here for it, and we'll have you being an Avax influencer before you know it, Jess. I just got to get you up to speed on it.
I found that news with AWS to be really interesting as we've been sitting here in the doom and gloom of the last year. That kind of stuff is still going on. I mean, how exciting is that, right?
These companies don't miss a beat. Like, we're all just complaining about what we got on Twitter, but these companies are thinking 10, 15 years out.
It says a lot.
Yep. Great stuff. Great stuff. John, I really appreciate your time. I think it was fun. I know the group here is kind of technical and they'll be asking technical questions, but great answers. And if there's anything you want to leave us with, like I know you got a lot of things coming up. Anything you want to leave us with before we wrap up?
I mean, two things. I mean, so for one, I would say, we've talked a lot about influencers and maybe specific like metrics and things. I think the thing that's the most interesting, and if anyone's on our site, you go to the global metrics section and zoom out to like 1 or 2 years, especially 2 years. And I think when you do that, you start to really paint a bigger picture of what's going on. I mean, if we just look at the unique people, like how many, not posts, not engagements, but unique user accounts that are posting on social every day, which is kind of an equivalent metric if you're familiar with like website analytics, Google Analytics, like your unique users on your website. We kind of look at social contributors as that to a degree for social. It's up 10x over the last 2 years. So when you look at that, and that's humans, that's verified humans, that's not bot accounts, anything that's a spam account, that's excluded from that. And so I think when you look just in general at our space, And I've been in this space a long time, but there's been no growth like the last 2 to 3 years. And I think that says everything. If you have a space that's down as much as it's been the last year, yet you still right now have 10x growth, that says a lot. That's really, really exciting. So that's one thing. The other thing that I want to leave you with is go to LunarCrush.com, sign up. It's free. Start playing around with social metrics. If anything, it's a fun way to look at another dimension into the markets you're already in. From another perspective, it's actionable, and I would say it's going to be very actionable in a few weeks on our site. So stay tuned. In the next 2 to 3 weeks, we got a lot coming.
John, I just hit the thing to scan my profile. How long does that take?
That should probably 15-20 minutes, something like that.
Okay, I'm driving to Starbucks, so by the time I get back home, it'll be done.
Should be. Enjoy your coffee.
It takes 20 minutes to go to Starbucks?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, John, we really appreciate your time. I'm excited for the community that wasn't aware about LunarCrush to start dabbling around with it. And maybe we could start some internal competitions over here and get some movement in our influence in this space. But yeah, we really appreciate your time. And yeah, you're always welcome to come back. If you guys have anything new, feel free to come back and let us know.
Would love to. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
John.
Yeah, feel free to hang out, or if you need to drop off, totally understand. We're just going to keep it going and talk about what's going on in crypto, NFTs, and this week.
I might swing back in just about 15 minutes.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds good. Great
Thanks
having you.
Sure.
Round of applause to
John is going to scan his profile.
Anybody heard about the bank run on
Oh,
Nexo?
wait, hold on, Nico. Let Alan go ahead.
Oh, I didn't hear it. Sorry.
Oh, no, no worries. I'm actually was on a drive somewhere and about to go through a Starbucks drive-through. So, but just the end of what John was saying, it was really funny, triggered this thing in my head, because I'll be fully transparent and full disclosure. I'm not just like a LunarCrush fanboy. I'm also an investor in LunarCrush. So I'm totally conflicted. So you can take that with a grain of salt. But what I was going to just say, what was funny is when you asked John that last question, what I realized is before LunarCrush, I had to call John all the time when shit was happening in the space and go John, what does this mean? What's going on with this token? What's, you guys mentioned Avax. I don't know what's going on, but I would call him and be what is going on with Avax? What is going on with this? And he would know. And he was my wingman in the space, where he would tell me his opinion or just the facts, right? He'd be oh, this thing happened, that thing happened. And I literally start the day I have looking at the LunarCrush app, kind of like we all used to look at Coin Market Cap, but it's just so much more info and data. And I have the tab open. And what I realize is now when I call John to ask him stuff, it's feature requests for LunarCrush and random things like that, and nerding out. And I no longer need that wingman that's paying attention to all this stuff. It's kind of supplemented it. And it's I just had that epiphany while he was talking and telling people to sign up on LunarCrush. So that's my doubling down on his plug. And I'm shilling too much already, so I'm going to shut up. But I really appreciate these. I listen in randomly, and I've been following you guys for a bit, so I appreciate what you do. So thanks for bringing me up.
No, thanks for coming by and for spilling the beans on Brooke's video, which we're looking to seeing on the timeline later today.
I'll find it. They did a few of those, like Brooke was saying, the member of the LunarCrush team who joined more recently and started doing these random videos and started producing videos for them as an intern there, and she just killed it. And they brought her on full time, and she was walking around the event with these cards. It was almost it was a deck of cards with prompts, and she would just open them up like your doing a magic trick or something, and you would just pick a random card, and it would say something like, you know, what's the weirdest thing you've ever bought with crypto, or what's the whatever. And she was just taking these short segments. Like she did, like in that moment, she recorded Brooke saying something, she recorded me answering some questions, she recorded Wendy answering some questions, and then they did a bunch of recap videos from the summit. And what was funny is, like, I've seen all the videos from the summit, and they're really, really cool. Like all sorts of different ones from other companies, from other media places and whatever, interviews with people. But like my favorite ones are these videos that are just a compilation of like 10-second clips of people like Brooke saying really funny and interesting things, right? So it's they understand our, you know, our kind of culture and the way we ingest stuff better than anyone else, right? Like no, I mean, I wouldn't watch a 20-minute video of myself talking about investing in Web3. Like that's boring as fuck. Like there's probably like 30 seconds in there that's good, that's like, you know, good content, and the rest is whatever. So but they
Yeah,
understand our
people's attention span
current
too.
ADD brains.
Yeah, people have a short attention span, and people like quick, you know, short clips are going to provide a lot of data. Because yeah, I think what are the stats, like you lose people's interest after like the first 10 seconds or 3 seconds if you don't catch people's attention. I forgot what it is, but yeah, we all have short attention spans.
Yes.
Speak for yourself.
I like long form content, but I will, like, in certain situations, like if I'm on a long drive or whatever. But most, I what I hate the most is really long form content that could have been solved with like a 30-second Google search, or like could have been like condensed into a minute, right? Like I don't know. I will tell you that I
Yeah.
feel a little bit culpable in this culture, because I worked at MySpace back in the day, and I think that was the beginning of the end of our attention spans.
Alon, I think that
Like
that
those cooking
would
videos
be.
on YouTube that tell you the story of why they pick their ingredients. Like, I don't care. Like, just show me how to make this.
Go ahead, Tammy.
I was just going to say, it's like in the business field and working field, it's like that meeting that could have been an email. So same sentiment.
Did
Yeah.
he just age himself by saying that he worked at MySpace back in the day? Like, holy crap.
Do you know Tom? Was Tom really your friend? Okay, maybe
He
he
must
doesn't.
be ordering his Starbucks.
He
Sorry,
doesn't
I
want to
Yeah,
literally,
answer
I
me.
literally was ordering in the Starbucks line. I just heard something MySpace, and then I heard you guys say, "I think he's ordering coffee." So, what was that? I apologize.
Do you actually know Tom? Was Tom actually your friend?
No, not really. So here's the nerdy story, is that some friends of mine who lived in New York had created the first ever internet karaoke company, where you could read the words on the screen and sing karaoke and record yourself. And it was a company called K Solo. And back then, that was like really hard technology, not hard technology to get like the latency right. And they had to like host like 30 dedicated servers to run karaoke songs. And MySpace, right after they were bought by Fox, when they were in like their heyday, like the most trafficked website on the internet, bought K Solo and moved the three dudes from New York to LA. And I'm one of the only people they knew in LA. Like they're like a bunch of Israeli dudes that I kind of knew through a family connection. So they're like, we have a budget to hire people. Do you want to work for us when we move to LA? And I said yes. So I quit going to school full time and started working at MySpace full time. And I met Tom a few times, like in an elevator, but wasn't really his friend. But that whole moment in time was just fucking ridiculous. Like there were people, we would get there in the morning and you'd be like, oh yeah, John no longer works at the company. You know, after work, somebody ordered a keg. He got wasted and threw the furniture in the fountain. You know, like shit like that happened every day. Like it was just chaos.
Oh my
Hey, good
God,
morning.
that's crazy. Who said good morning? Who was that? Oh, I
I
think.
think he was talking.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a new speaker. I'm like, wait, I don't see them. Maybe I'm rugging. But yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. It was good to. MySpace was the shit back then. But yeah, it's good that we did evolve and we don't have to do any more HTML coding on our own. Um, but yeah, so looking in at the last week, I mean, we have brought this up a couple of times. Maybe let's start off with there. And we have Bella here about the Avax and AWS partnership. So there's a partnership with Amazon Web Services and Avalanche to help. It's Avax? Is it Avax or what? How do you say it, Bella? They're
It's
talking about
AVAX. AVAX.
no. They call it something else.
Oh, you're talking about the partnership?
No, Ava. It's my understanding it's not
Avalanche.
Avax.
It's
No,
Avalanche and AVAX. Yeah.
no. Okay, I'm gonna go back and look.
You're talking to too much DGens.
Yeah, somebody called me out and said it wasn't Avax. Anyways,
Hey, Jess, I have a question. You guys were talking about like these coin influencers. Like, what does that mean? Like, what does it mean to be? Does that just mean you have like a partnership or a sponsorship deal, a
oh,
brand
are you
deal?
talking about the post on the top?
I guess when I came in, you guys were saying like, who's the top BNB influencer, and then
Yeah,
who's the
so we
top
were talking,
whatever.
yeah, you're gonna have to go back and probably listen to it, but we were talking about LunarCrush, which is a social intelligence app that tracks data for influencers, for coins, so social metrics in crypto, NFTs, and stocks. So as you can see in the post in the top, unfortunately, I've been talking about Solana too much this week. And I also put up
Oh, okay. Because I knew what Lunar Crush was. I was just kind of like, you guys keep talking about like influencers for a specific coin, and I guess I just want to know like, what does that mean? Just tweeting
Yeah,
about it, or
yeah,
just
just
doing
talking
content?
about it.
Oh,
When
okay. It's
just
not
like
anything more
yeah, it could
complicated than
be
that.
talking about it, posting about it, whether you have it in your bio. So a lot of things that contribute to that. Yeah, that's what we did talk about the first part. And John's gone, so I don't want to say anything incorrectly as to how that data is aggregated. But definitely go back and play it back for that, and sign up, see where
She's
you
like,
land.
bitch, be here at 8 o'clock so that I don't have to repeat myself.
I'm dead.
You know,
I,
that's what she was trying to say. She loves me so much. She was like, "Oh, just I'm sorry." No, bitch, get up at 8 o'clock and be here. That's what she
Oh,
means.
I
I'm
gave you the
dead.
PG version. But yeah, I really see. I want to see what you're talking about, Brooke. Go see if it gives you any tokens that you're talking about and whether you agree with it or not. I'm gonna look you up while we're talking about
Yeah,
this.
I thought I
Just
had an
so
account. But...
look me up.
I
All
just
right.
hashtag like he told me on the profile. My Twitter blue went away for a few days, I guess, because I made a change.
Oh shit.
You're not really the number one safe moon influencer for the day, are you, Leo? Like, if that's true, I don't know
Dude,
what to
I
say.
didn't even remember tweeting about. Well, I mean,
I'm
just
gonna
bad stuff,
unfollow you
but
for that. I'm probably
No,
just
gonna
bad
unfollow you
so
stuff.
for
what
that. Bro.
the data that I pulled for Leo, I went to his profile. I looked at his mentions for the past month, and Safe Moon was the top one. So the data doesn't lie. Like it's there.
I'm dead. Yo, just look me up. Look me up. I want to know.
Wait, guys, one at a time. Let's get back to Amazon AWS. I'll look you everybody up in the meantime in the background. But yeah, Bella, you're from the AVAX community. Do you maybe want to fill us in as to the partnership and how do you see this maybe improving the AVAX ecosystem?
Well, I've gotten accused of insider trading because I had a long open on Monday morning and I was tweeting about it like, I'm holding this up until I'm up 1,000%. And I'm now up over 1,000% for the week from logging. Everybody's like, you knew the announcement was coming. I did not know the announcement was coming. I do not work for Ava Labs, and Amen has no idea who I am. But essentially, what has happened is AWS approached Avalanche to help them be able to scale as the blockchain technology has continued to increase. And so what Avalanche has that others don't are what are known as subnets. So the subnets are 10,000 AVAX. And when you've got a subnet, you can launch your own coin or platform on top of it while also validating for Avalanche at the same time and receiving rewards for it. So essentially, and I can ping some more AVAX, like actual AVAX people in here to explain it even further. But essentially, because of their ability to scale, that is what has started the partnership. And it's signed, sealed, and delivered from what I am seeing. I know that there was an AMA that I missed yesterday because I was sick, but it's a signed and sealed delivery, if you will. Unlike other blockchains who quote unquote are paying AWS, in this case, AWS is paying Avalanche to help them scale their blockchain technology. So that's the scoop, Jess.
Yeah, I did attend the space. There was a lot of people there. It was actually hosted by Avalanche and TechCrunch, which was the news media that broke the news. So it was interesting to see the people from the AWS side to be excited. They were talking about gaming, how that's going to help with gaming as far as, and as well as institutional, enterprise, and government solutions. So really interesting to see. I'm going to throw it over to Dow, and then Matt, I'll circle back to you.
Hey, this is really exciting because it sounds like you can just spin up your subnet using AWS, and anybody who's a backend developer or DevOps developer, AWS is like the candy store. There's all the tools that you can ever think of as an engineer that you'll see engineers giggle when they start talking about AWS. Like, you become all powerful. So kudos on AVAX. Now, just a little bit of fun because I'm kind of an ETH Max Melish, right? A little bit.
Kind of. Come
Kinda.
on.
Hey, I'm not as bad as some others, right? So I defy Daniel. But real quick, there's been a lot of further around the subnet, as to what they are. So I don't know if you can answer that, Bella. Definitively, are those sidechain? They have their own security, or they actually are layer twos, and they leverage the security of Avalanche main chain.
They actually they can have their own chain, or they can leverage the security of Avalanche from what I've seen. There's only been a few launched since late 2021, whenever they launched the platform altogether, but some of them actually are their own chain. Then they're validating for Avalanche in the background in addition. So it depends. It can go either way.
Got it. Appreciate that. Makes sense.
I was gonna say I kind of laughed when Bella said people were accusing her of having inside information, like she knew, like Amazon was gonna pick it up, and and to a greater point about potential. A lot of these blockchains, they do really amazing special stuff, and sooner or later, like, it's going to capture the attention of major corporations that will invest ridiculous amounts of money to it and bring it to scale and use it for their own operations. Like when Google partnered with Solana, and Avax partnering with Amazon, and somebody's gonna come along like Chase or Bank of America, I don't know, and then say, hey, now we're gonna settle our transactions on ETH or whatever. And if you're here from the beginning and you really believe in your blockchain, or the projects that you decide to invest in, and you do have that conviction, like Bella had, to do along without knowing what Amazon was going to do, it's surprising information because it's a huge corporation, but also it doesn't surprise her because she's convicted of how well the technology is, and she believes in it, and this is why she invests in it. So anything that comes after that is just extra, you know what I'm saying? So, like, if, for example, if Jess becomes, I don't know, let's say she gets appointed COO of Binance, like, or whatever. Like, we've seen it all
Bro.
along. You know what I'm saying? Like, real talk. Like, you see it. It's right. It's happening in real time in front of your face. And we're all here in the crypto sphere. We know how amazing the technology is. So, only time will tell when these major corporations come in and start implementing these special blockchains into their own operations.
Yeah, that's a great point. And yeah, and it's just interesting to see like the different approaches that these, large enterprises are taking. Like I put up another pin to the top. Goldman Sachs, they went live with this tokenization platform, and it's on a private blockchain. So, AVAX and the subnets kind of gives enterprises control of those different like blockchains. Like I know a lot of the ETH maxis are like everything's going to be built on ETH, but I don't know. I think some enterprises are going to want to control what's going on, and they're either going to go the private blockchain route, which there's an example on the top, or they're going to pick a subnet or something in AVAX like that, in my personal opinion.
And that's fine. It's like a sandbox, right? They're playing around the little toys in the private little sandbox, but when they grow up, they'll come to the public networks.
Yeah, this is going to be like the "I'm better than you" conversation at this point. Like, oh, you're on Solana and all that. Come on, man.
I actually conceded to Polygon, and everybody who knows me the last two and
Bro,
a half years, like I hated Polygon. Like I thought
I've
it
been
was
the
like,
biggest Polygon
you know,
bull for years.
I was the hater of Polygon. I was like, ugh. You know, I look at my Polygon NFTs like, ugh. But
I got
you
in.
know, after you see corporation after corporation choose Polygon, you say, all right, you know, now I'm tweeting stuff like stack Matic. You don't have enough Matic, and now I invested in Matic now.
Not financial advice, but yeah, we'll talk about Polygon in a second. Go ahead, Leo, and then I want to go to Death, who has
No,
his
you're
hand up.
good. I was laughing at what he said because I remember when he was with the, what was it, the Bears? What the hell? He like, no, go ahead, financial advice. You went ham
Not
with Solana that
financial
time.
advice. This is strictly for entertainment purposes. Go ahead, Death. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, for Amazon or AWS, they provide basically like a click extension service, so you don't even necessarily need to use or be on the Avalanche network. What it provides is a one-click stop shop for basically a business that would want to come, maybe even host their own network, but that you could host the validator and set up your own subnets possibly, or interact. I mean, they do this for Ethereum already, and there's a good amount of other ones. But I think the big thing from this was the fact that AWS has this startup friendly kind of association that they do. So not that there's necessarily funding involved, but they try and kind of give people spotlights, and they did adopt the Ava Labs for that position.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see you have AWS with Avalanche, and then you have a couple, I think it was like last month, Google Cloud announced their partnership with Solana. So it's like the battle now of these different cloud providers with different layer ones should be interesting to see. And I think Google Cloud is also partnered with Ethereum. Is that right, Daniel and
Yep.
Dal?
Yeah. So
Okay.
so they real quick. I think like the way to look at it is the other way around. Like they're not saying, "Hey, we're picking one blockchain." They're saying, "What are the popular blockchains that the developers are most likely going to use?" So in AWS, they have Ethereum. I think they have Solana. They probably have a few others, including Avalanche,
Yeah,
and Google is
they
doing the same thing.
and Hyperledger for like a good like 8 years already. I think they've been offering Hyperledger services. Basically, what they want to do is say, no, 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 don't go set up your own node and network. Come to us, pay us, and then we'll just make it easy for you.
These
Yeah.
cloud providers do not care. They are very non-discretionary. They don't care. They not come one, come all.
Great
Yeah,
point.
so basically they provide a quick and easy way to just plugging into a supercomputer and do your business, right? So you don't have to deal with all the headaches of buying the hardware, buying the current hardware, setting it up, and all that kind of stuff, and maintenance and whatnot. So I always said it. This is the same as when Bitcoin came out. Like they needed as they needed a land, let's say, or they needed a space where they could just grow without so much of a headache, right? With energy. So obviously China was the natural progression for all the Bitcoin miners because there's some sites where practically was for free, right? So they didn't have to account that financials into their headaches of maintaining their hardware. So same thing, AWS, it's a provider for a lot of these chains. And it's natural that people are going to be like, I either do this on my own or just pay this guy and I'm off. Now, it did create decentralization that we see. So, eventually, hopefully it just basically becomes less centralized into the AWS stuff. Yeah, nothing to fear. The future is bright.
The future is bright. I did bring up OX founder Will. Did you want to chime in? Welcome.
Hey, what's up? I know Bella on this stage. She's the goat.
Welcome.
And I just wanted to pop in and say hello. I don't have any coffee, but I got some crypto. Yay.
Excited about the AWS Avalanche news. Oh, and do you
Oh,
know,
brother,
is
yes.
it AVAX or a Vox?
It's Avax. A
Okay.
box is blasphemy.
Sounds
But
horrible.
that's
Yeah,
what
I think
there's
somebody was messing with you, Jess,
Sounds
because
isn't
they were
horrible.
there
like,
a
"You're
divide in
saying
the
it wrong."
community about this?
No, everyone like we are like lock in step, man, arm in arm, brothers and sisters walking with Avax. So I literally think somebody was just pulling your chain.
Avax sounds like a cleaning product. Sounds horrible.
Yeah, there is a cleaning product called Avax, isn't there?
It's Ajax,
Yeah.
but
Ajax.
You think about Ajax? You don't clean, Jazz.
I actually fell for that one myself. Whatever. Like,
It's like the Stefan and Stefan. Some people go like that. I think I like Evox. I'm gonna start using it.
A Vox.
hey, use it however you can, however you must. Just use it. It's a great chain. We got the dopest DeFi. The art market's coming up. That's my 2 cents about AVAX.
Everybody check it out. Do your own research. But yeah, great news about that. Yeah, since you guys were talking about Polygon, Tammy, I know this was on your notes. I didn't do too much research, so I'll throw this over to Tammy or anybody else that knows. But it looks like Polygon is going to go through a hard fork. Like it was approved, which is supposedly supposed to help with the spikes in gas fees and the reorgs. I'm not too familiar with reorgs. If anybody up here knows more about this, but it looks like the hard fork was approved and is coming, and there was kind of a divide in the community about this.
Yeah, I guess
Ooh.
it's happening on the 17th of January, and it was first discussed back in December of 2022. So, yes, you are correct. I don't know really about those reorgs either, but they said it is in hopes to reduce the time it takes to finalize the block to verify the successful transactions. They plan to reduce from 64 to 16 blocks, so going from 128 seconds down to 32. But I see people have their hands up, so go ahead.
Yeah, Dal probably knows about this, but yeah, what's going on, Dal?
I don't know nothing about it, but I'm really disappointed in Polygon for doing that. Because as far as I knew, right, the whole narrative of Polygon is they're moving away from being a sidechain, having their own security, to being a layer two of reference for zero's knowledge proof based rollups. And they invested a lot of money, hundreds of millions of dollars. They got 5 different ZK rollups that they're working on. But the fact that they keep improving their main proof of stakes chain, that seems like they're playing on both sides. Like they're thinking, hey, we're going to keep this chain alive, and if our clients never move away from it, we'll just keep it around. Oh, but by the way, we also have those layer two solution in case they decide to jump in. They're not necessarily gonna push their clients into the layer two ecosystem unless the clients are asking for it. At least from this news, it sounds like that's the direction they're going for.
Yep. Go ahead, Death.
Well, I guess my question is really for Dow with this fork that's occurring, right? Because then this is one of the downsides to decentralization, right? In some sense, some people want it, some people don't. I don't know how the decision was made, of course, for this to be done. But what is occurring with the separate network that will be created after the fork? Do you know?
No, I think if I damn, I have the answers on that. But I think the reason is because it's slow right now. If you compare with Arbitrum Optimism, a transaction takes about 2 seconds, and on Polygon it takes maybe 4 or 5 seconds. So that might be why they're moving forward to be competitive.
Go ahead, Nico, and then Daniel.
all right. So look, I've been in Polygon for years. All right. Everything. First of all, my understanding with Polygon is that it started on as an ERC20 token,
it was Matic, and they had always planned on building a side chain and their own blockchain. All right. And the way it works is, yes, it's like an alternative solution for Ethereum. But there are already projects, and very big projects, that are depending on Matic to be fairly fast. Otherwise, there's no reason for them to build on Matic. Like, and these projects have been in the works for years. So like they've been playing both sides for years. Like that's the only reason why I even got into Matic in the first place. That's like that was my like I've been so bullish on Matic since like 2019. So I don't know where some of the I don't know why so many people thought that it was otherwise. There are some really huge projects that nobody really talks about on Matic that the only way that they're going to be successful is if they improve their own chain. It's like not even, they won't even be a thing, these huge projects,
But Nico,
if
they
they don't
actually said that publicly, that they're betting everything on ZK rollups, and that they're going to phase out their proof of stake chain. That's what they said. That's what they claim. That's why everybody Ethereum is very friendly with them. Say, oh man, these guys are doing the right thing. Because to your point, until they have that solution, it makes sense to have a cheaper Ethereum that's working for a large enterprise. But it sounds like their action don't match what they're saying, and their action is saying, well, let's hedge our bet just in case, we don't really fully move all the way to layer 2 ecosystems.
DAO, it's not feasible for you to do a transaction, especially when it comes to some of these big companies getting in, Disney and all of them, and like it's not feasible. They
Let's
want
let Nico, let's let Daniel go and then Laguna.
Yeah, I just wanted to explain what they're trying to do. If I
Thank you, Daniel.
remember, yeah, I don't know if you guys can hear me, but
Yeah, go ahead.
oh, yeah, sorry. So what they're trying to do is reduce the gas fees and reduce the reorganizations of the chain, right? So reorganizations happen all the time in blockchain, and when all the nodes are trying to figure out which chain is the correct one, like if you find a block and then you put all that stuff in there, you're going to be the winner, and I have to align to what you're saying, right? And the more people align to that, the more nodes align to that, that becomes the true and the longest chain. So that's kind of the reorg that happens all the time. And we know gas fees, how they work, right? The more demand, the more gas fees. I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to reduce the number of confirmations for transactions, right? Which, if this was a very new blockchain, that would be a no-no, right? Like that would be completely unsecure, right? For dexes and sexes all along. But in this case, I think, they have enough liquidity, enough market capital. So they're reducing that in order to kind of throttle the competition for that block so that it gets completed, I believe, faster, and there's not as much competition to get to that, from transactions to get to that block. So I think it's a win-win for now, but this is all going to be all a big nothing because people don't really care too much about that. So, and also, like Dow just pointed out, in the future, I believe they're going to be just basically, moving to ZK rollups and that'll be it.
Great points. Great points. Laguna, what's going on? What are your thoughts?
It's interesting because we've already seen sort of the scaling problem at Polygon even before all of their big partners are going live, right? Like things are slow. If you are trying to do something else on the chain when the Reddit NFTs were minting, good luck, right? I mean, a year ago, the reason I left Polygon was because I had a DeFi liquidation because Sunflower game was like destroying the chain, and I was
Oh
like,
my God, I remember that.
like like it was so frustrating. And so like I think we're just seeing this, like we know that their BD partners are all huge names, and Polygon has to deliver from a tech side and from a transaction side, right? And like even the other day I was reading through Reddit's like basically web3 strategy, and Reddit is going knee deep into what they're calling tokenized communities, which is basically like NFTs and ERC20 concepts that we've been seeing on the blockchain for years, but they're hiding it in this concept of like tokenized communities, and that's being run on Polygon. And like they need this to work. Like Polygon needs every single one of these big players to work, and they need to be able to support massive amounts of transactions to support Reddit and support Starbucks and support all the other ones that are rolling down. So yeah, it's just really interesting to see like now that they have finished their BD, now they have to do the tech implementation, and like it almost feels like they're doing a bit of scrambling.
Yep, it should have been backwards, right? Like implement the tech first, then worry about onboarding users. But hey, we'll see how it pans out. I mean, there's definitely that social momentum in the Matic ecosystem, but is the tech gonna live up to the hype? Yeah. Yeah, and like using Matic is not the easiest thing, right? Even me as somebody who has been in crypto, it's like, okay, got to figure out this bridge. You got to wait for your funds to go. Hey, why is it taking so long? Did it go through? Like, imagine a newbie. But they are implementing like easier on rampings for retail to come in. But yeah, great points all around. We'll see what happens with that. Hopefully the hard fork goes well and does improve the ecosystem. Because yeah, it would suck that all these big brands come, it fails, that makes the space look bad. So at the end of the day, like we need Matic to do good, hopefully. Go ahead, Nico.
Hey, Jess, don't you have a Binance? So I don't know how Binance.us works. I didn't have one, but I had a Binance.com account at some point. And they had implemented Matic's network. So like I never had to do any bridging. I would just buy Matic there and then just send it out on Matic's network from there. Don't they have that on Binance.us already?
I'm pretty sure that they do, and they also have some layer twos. I can definitely look them all up and post about it later. But yeah, there are some direct. You're right. For some exchanges, they do have direct on ramps to like Matic or layer twos. Yeah. But yeah, so that's going on with Polygon, with Avax. What else is happening? Let me see here. Oh yeah, I thought this was funny. Well, let's see who's here in this room. No, we don't have any of the BSV folks here. There was a BSV meltdown this week because BSV is getting delisted from Robinhood. And yeah, it looks like if you have BSV on Robinhood, and you don't withdraw it, they're gonna sell it by the due date. So Robinhood would market sell your BSV on January 25th. Hector was saying that it's only companies that are going bankrupt delist BSV, but hey, to each its own. Yeah, that was interesting to see. What do you guys think about BSV getting delisted? Where did they get delisted from a few weeks ago? It was like Bitfinex or some shit like that. I don't remember.
Bitmart.
One of the bids.
Yeah. So can I just this whole BSV thing? I've been arguing with BSV maxis in IRL, like real life people. Like I have friends that are so bullish, and I know them since we're kids, just because it's on Robinhood, and I'm just like I don't know what to say. And then when Hector showed up out of nowhere, I'm like, no way, this has spread into Twitter. Like I'm just giving you my perspective of things on this, and I'm like, this is a religion. This has become like it really is, because I just have to deal with it with personal friends, and it's like every time I tell them it's garbage, they get really mad at me.
Wait, that shit exists in real life? I thought they were just like virtual profiles on Twitter. Like they're actual BSVers in real life. All right, it's good to know.
So the listing on Robinhood actually created a cult-like mentality amongst people that really don't know about crypto at all. Like we're talking about friends of mine that can barely use their phones, but they're telling me BSV is the future.
No, and I mean, you could, as a newbie, like I remember when I first entered crypto for like 2 months back in 2017, 2018, I just bought whatever was in whatever app, and I bought Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin, bought Bitcoin Cash thinking it was just a cheaper version of Bitcoin. This is me having like no knowledge of anything. So yeah, when you put those things out there to the retail market and they see Bitcoin in the name, you're like, hey, this is, a different type of Bitcoin that's cheaper. And I fell to that trap without doing, of course, I didn't do my research back then. Go ahead, Bella.
I just want to let you know, Joss, if you still have any of that Bitcoin Cash lying around, whenever I was in St. Martin down in the Caribbean back in November, every freaking bar takes Bitcoin Cash. Like they all have it. Like they have the stickers everywhere. So if you still have any of that Bitcoin Cash, you can have yourself a very nice vacation in St. Martin.
That's pretty cool.
That is hilarious. I'm just looking for the BSV post. But yeah,
I was utterly confused. I was like, why are these stickers everywhere? The Bitcoin Cash maxis must have just like taken over the island.
And in their defense, to BSV, a lot of
what?
coins have been,
Yeah, I know. I'm
in their
shocked too.
defense.
What's going on, Daniel?
Now, a lot of coins have been delisted. I don't know if you guys been getting the emails from the multiple chains and applications like Metal Pay just recently delisted a bunch of stuff, and it must be just like no one trades with them, right? So why do they need that kind of liability to have and maintain this this chain, these addresses or whatever? So it makes sense. I mean, like, I guess it's not in their defense. It basically no one uses it, but no one is using a lot of other ones, and you'll be surprised. Like, well, not surprised, but ICP has been delisted from a few. Um, IOTA is another one, like one of my all-time favorites. What else? There's a few good ones, like good names, not necessarily good chains, but names that resonate.
XRP, sorry, Duff.
Oh, I was just, actually, there's an exact opposite thing occurring right now. The volume for XRP and XRP listings have actually increased while others have decreased. Not particularly like it really matters to me, but it's actually been a funny occurrence. There's been a couple of exchanges that relisted XRP recently.
That's only because there's actually something happening. Like, come on, bro. Let's be serious here. The Flare network is now all of a sudden gonna like do something. Or like it's all hype.
Yeah, what's up with that Flare network? I saw there was like an airdrop. Was it like for XRP holders? How does that work?
I've been waiting for this airdrop since 2019, I think, or 2020.
2020, correct? Yeah. Yeah, and I mean,
Something like that.
Songbird has been live for over a year, so same thing, right? Everybody should have been airdropped that as well. If you were using,
I'm still waiting for that too.
Right, Nico?
Look, so because I lived in New York, I had to custody this shit because I didn't want to do it
Coinbase,
the other
right?
way. No, Nexo. And Nexo said that we're gonna get it, but they never. But then all of a sudden, this whole thing with Letitia Adams, I can't custody anything on Nexo anymore. So like this entire ordeal is like so weird. And now there's a bank run on Nexo too. I actually don't have any money on Nexo. I actually took my stuff off long before any of this stuff happened, but I'm still due my Songbird and my Flare network stuff, and I don't think I'm gonna get it. And
yeah, fortunately,
like,
hear that.
yeah, so I don't.
So there's
even
been
know
an interesting proposal.
But
Well,
I had a big position. I had a big position in XRP at the time when that happened. Like that was my biggest position, and then I let it go because of all the stuff.
Can
So
I ask
like,
you where you held those that position? Was it like a ledger or
no, on
treasure?
no,
Nexo.
in
On
the
Nexo. So at the
Guys,
time,
guys, you guys are all talking over each other, so just make sure to mute your mic when you're not speaking. So real quick, Death, what did you have to do to become eligible to get the Flare airdrop?
Well, so you would have just had to hold XRP on 2020 at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time was a snapshot. But see, the thing is if you were in an exchange, that exchange is who's receiving, right? It's their wallet that's receiving the airdrop. And so if they're not going to give it out, but so this is interesting though, because Flare has the first thing they've done is introduce like a proposal that'll change the way that the distribution will occur, because it's going to still occur for the next 2 to 3 years. And so they've tried to do something where if it's agreed upon and voted yes, it'll basically cut out the majority of the exchanges, or essentially anybody who really doesn't participate in the network, from actually receiving the leftover rewards. So,
Okay. Go ahead, Dal.
Can you explain what the Flare network is, right? Like just like break it down like simple. Like is it like a side chain on top of XRP, and Is it like an
No, no.
EVM thing? What is it?
So completely separate network, right? And so it is a federated Byzantine agreement smart contract or EVM smart contract standard network, which is the how they're labeling the consensus, because it's utilizing the same consensus methodology that the XRP ledger uses. So federated Byzantine agreement, which is, to break it down, right, it's just the way that the nodes communicate and agree upon transactions on the network. Then they're using the EVM smart contract standard to run smart contracts, right, as a layer 2 ability on the network. Well as using an integrated Oracle service, so they call them the TSOs, the time series oracles. So they have an Oracle service built into the network as the node operators are able to bring a price feed to the network. And then what they've done is like what's, I think, in my opinion, kind of revolutionary, at least doesn't exist yet, is two protocols called the state connector and the layer cake, which are basically meant to state. The state connector is a protocol that allows the reading of state information from multiple blockchains at once. And then the layer cake is a smart contract that is basically enables the bridging between networks in a much more linear manner than fashion that exists today. So if I want to bridge from, say, Solana to Ethereum, and then I have a bridge from Ethereum to, say,
Avalanche.
Avalanche, right? You would have to have a smart contract from every one of those chains connecting them. So it would be a total of 8 smart contracts. With Flare, what they've done with the layer cake is essentially you just need one smart contract on each of the chains, and you can just use Flare as the bridge to go from said chain to chain. And then using this state connector, you can prove state information from chain to chain in a much more rapid rate.
So
And
just
this is all layer 1.
so if I'm an end user, right, and I'm on Flare, it probably looks and feels the same as Ethereum, right? It's like it's EVM based dApps.
Yeah, and they're also very interesting. We mentioned Avalanche before. Avalanche is integrated into the protocol. They've I almost call it like a Frankenstein monster a little bit, because it's been 7 years of working, but basically the network has integrated into it Cosmos, Avalanche, the XRP ledger for consensus, EVM for smart contract standards, and then a couple new things that they've built themselves.
But it's completely separate from XRP, right? Like it's its own security, its own nodes. But
Yeah,
these have the
completely.
similar consensus.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, great explanation, Death. Nico, go ahead.
So what you're telling me is whatever I should expect from the airdrop is not happening. One.
Unfortunately, yeah. But it's all up to them. Really.
Yeah, I figured. Two, everything that you're talking about though puts a lot of burden on anybody developing a project on any other blockchain to integrate all of this. And like I haven't done that much. I'm pissed about the Flare thing, but how is Flare's smart contract or entire thing put together? Like,
well, it's EVM.
Someone else's. Okay, I got it.
So basically, if you're on any EVM network, it's a little bit different, right? Because every network is a little bit different, but same smart contract standard makes it easy to roll over.
Yeah, I got it.
So Solidity then?
It's correct, Solidity. Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Yeah, congrats to everybody that got the airdrop. Now it makes sense, because I did see like you mentioned, Death, that some of the exchanges got it airdropped. I did see a lot of people commenting on exchanges posts like, when are we getting our Flare? And now it all comes together. So I appreciate you taking the time to break that down. But yeah, so BSV got delisted. We ended up talking about Flare. What else has happened? Yeah, did you guys see there was a space with Gary Gensler this week, which was completely hilarious, because the title, it was like with Gary Gensler and the US Army, and the title was like the SEC gives financial advice or some shit like that. Like, I am literally not kidding you guys. And then obviously in the news, as you've seen, the SEC is now going after Gemini and DCG and Genesis on all these companies. Like, Any thoughts about freaking Gensler and what he's been up to?
It's a joke.
Tweeting on spaces and
I think the bloodbath is just beginning, unfortunately.
I think it's a joke. I mean, the fact that he went after Gemini when Gemini has been trying to play ball, they've been talking to the SEC for the past 2 years to make sure that everything is by the books and to take them by surprise, not even give them a heads up, and go after them where they're actually, as far as I understand, right? Obviously, there's a lawsuit, but as far as I understand, Gemini is the victim of what Genesis was doing. So if you go on Gemini, they have a program called Gemini Earn, where you put your tokens into their smart contract or their account and they give you passive income, right? That's based on what Genesis is doing. They know about your trading and they're supposed to have those funds on their account. And kind of similar to FTX, they're not really sure where those funds are, or they're not really sure they'll be able to make full on those amounts, right? So Gemini is actually trying to get those funds, and SEC goes after them from a technicality because they're providing their users what could be considered securities, but they're mostly the victim in this situation. They've been trying to play ball with the SEC. So I think Gary Gensler is a joke. I don't think he's trying to help anybody. So he's the last person anybody should be taking financial advice from.
yeah, I was shocked. Like, is that why can he give financial advice and other people can't? Like, and I did go into the space because, yeah, if you look at the space on top, the title clearly says financial advice. And he was basically shitting on cryptocurrency and, doing what he does. And yeah, it was really shocking to see that happening. Go ahead, Nico.
I think he's trying to show face for this whole FTX fuck up, to be honest with you, especially the way he went after Gemini.
I was just going to say create a diversion too, because he should be the one being questioned.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with fucking Gensler. Sorry, guys, give me 1 second.
Oh, she got a phone call, I think.
Have you guys ever heard of Avalanche?
I thought it was Ajax.
It's like a cleaning
Yeah,
product.
Yeah, it's this cleaning product. It's pretty. It has the fastest time to finality of any cleaning products out there. So you guys should check it out.
Whoa,
So I
Oh,
heard
you guys
people.
are funny. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that.
I always
Before
feel
you guys,
like Gary, and sorry, Jess. Like,
yeah, go ahead, Daniel.
you know how you see those warning stickers and warning signs, like because it happened. Like these guys are not. They're too old. They don't understand shit, and this is basically. I'm pretty sure Gemini and Genesis were doing something kind of maybe not so into the, and they were playing a gray area for sure. But I mean, it doesn't help for them to tell us, to just give us this warning, like don't stick your hand here, you're gonna fucking lose it. Like that doesn't like that. Thank you, dude. I really lost my hand, so I mean, thanks for that sign. But I don't know, man. I really we hate him because he doesn't understand, but he comes all like swinging and fucking talking shit about stuff that he doesn't understand.
I think he
But
does understand it, man.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was teaching classes
He
at
definitely knows.
MIT or
Yeah.
Harvard. He understands, but I'm sorry to interrupt. I think what he's doing is he's going after the low hanging fruit, the easiest case to win. By the time he shows up, like obviously it's a scam. So what can you say about it? By the time you go after FTX, everybody hates FTX. It's almost like he's just going for the easiest public cases that he knows he can win.
yeah, from a technical perspective, yes, he's very knowledgeable. So yeah, he understands blockchain, yeah, for sure. But yeah, I guess he's missing. Well, he doesn't have to get to understand the big point, but because the big point is basically reducing the power of the dollar, which he's trying to protect, right? So, anyways,
yeah, we'll see what happens with Gensler and with Gemini. But yeah, if you're like fairly new to this space, like the whole DCG thing and Barry Silbert, like Barry Silbert is a nemesis among the Doge community. So when Doge was at its all-time high, when Elon was on, what is it, Saturday Night Live, Barry publicly tweeted that he was going to short Doge. So that's why he gets a lot of hate from the community. And he's been very vocal about, like, I don't know, it's like always the loudest ones that you have to be worried about, right? Because they're always trying to show how big their shit is. Excuse my language. But yeah, the other thing that I saw floating around, and you might be interested in this one, not sure if you heard about it, but GMX, which is a decentralized spot and perpetuals exchange currently on Arbitrum and Avalanche. There's an open proposal for it to launch on BNB. And I was actually in the community forum, and a bunch of the ETH maxis are like, no, don't do this. And, you know, it's kind of split the sentiment. Other people is like, yeah, this will bring in more users. So you as a GMX user and as a ETH maxi, what are your thoughts? And another quick thing about GMX was the top performing asset of 2022. It was actually up 111% for the year. So if you listen to Dow, which I didn't, you would have actually bought a crypto in 2022 that went up. But yeah, sorry
I
for
just
my
want to
rant.
state that that's how I'm up 1,000% for the week. It's all due to GMX. Thank you, GMX, at a 40x long.
Congrats, Bella. Yeah, GMX, if you're into derivatives, you want to leverage position, and the UX is amazing. They're actually one of the project that made L2 relevant, right? When people were talking about Arbitrum, it was like, oh, you can do some cool things on layer 2s, but until GMX came around, there wasn't much of really activity. So kudos on them. I really haven't paid attention to that conversation, but I'm surprised people are pushing back. I mean, it makes sense for them to extend on different chain, and there's a lot of activity on Binance. So plenty of other projects have done the same thing. They have presence on different chains, so it makes sense for them to be there, and they've been successful in Avalanche. So I assume they will be very successful on Binance as well.
Point. I was just looking for that proposal to put it out there if anybody wants to check it out. But yeah, big things happening with GMX. So keep your eye out on that platform and how they're expanding cross chain. Sorry.
It's definitely not financial advice.
Not financial advice at all.
So easy to get liquidated, not financial advice.
But it's better advice than listening to Gary Gensler, even though it's not financial advice.
And you can also, yeah, I'm totally not for leverage trading, but you could also do a spot trading just in a decentralized manner as well. So it does account for both aspects of trading. But yeah, leverage trading, not for me. Got wrecked, played there, been there, done that. Not for me. I'd rather just buy and hold to zero, which is typically what I do.
I mean,
I just recently became pretty bullish on Solana, so I'm sad to hear you just part ways with the community as a well-known leader.
Wait, aren't you still getting the phone, Jess?
That's what I was going to ask. Has your phone showed up, Jess?
No,
I
I did see that one of the Solana founders posted that he got his or something, and I'm like, when are they releasing it to everybody else? So what we will see when that phone arrives.
Can you do an unboxing for Daniel? I know he wants the unboxing of the Solana.
I will do an unboxing for
That
Daniel.
would be absolutely awesome, yeah, for sure.
But yeah, let's see what else. Let's maybe talk a little bit about NFTs. I did see that the Tribeca Film Festival, which is a huge film festival in New York, they're launching their first NFT with OKX Exchange. It is going to be on Ethereum. So yes, Daniel, it's going to be on ETH. And what I did find interesting is that they give option to buy with either crypto or credit card. So it was point 0.5. How much is Ethereum right now? Can somebody look that up? So it's half an ETH or $900 with a credit card, which when I looked yesterday, it would have been cheaper to buy it with Ethereum, which could be like a way to motivate people to actually set up a wallet and try to purchase it that way.
It's
14.
1411 right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I was gonna
To
say
answer
it's
your question.
1411. So yeah, so like $705. So yeah, so you would save $200 if you bought it with crypto. And if you, but yeah, it is half an ETH to pass. But as a holder, you get tickets to pre-screenings for the festival, and they're also going to do like invite-only parties. You get to go to a ceremony with Robert De Niro, and yeah, and in one of a kind experiences. So they're trying to like integrate the festival with the NFT, which I thought was pretty cool and hadn't heard much about that on the TL.
That's actually pretty good. I actually thought that was going to be the case when you were talking about the credit card thing. I was like, they have to include something that actually goes with the Tribeca Film Festival, because that's actually pretty big. I used to pick up people from that all the time, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so if you are in that area, you might see some people that have some NFTs. I put that on the top if anybody is interested in checking that out.
Did anybody get the Game of Thrones? Sorry, Tammy.
Oh my God, that shit is ugly. I didn't get
What
one.
is with that? The
I
hand.
felt so bad because one of my really close friends was asked to advise, and she was so excited about it. And it came out, and you know that feeling where you're like, oh, that wasn't a good idea. But you know, you win some, lose some. But I was just so, oh, it was so bad. But you know, you win some, you lose some. I feel really bad.
How did, like, where do projects go wrong? Like, this isn't the first time. Like, we saw it also with Azurbala. Like, when that came out, that art was like horrendous and they had to go back. Like, where do these projects go wrong? Are they not getting community feedback? Like, that looked really bad as far as like the quality of the image. It was just horrible.
Personally, I don't think people do enough due diligence. You know, I've always looked at these things as small businesses that people are starting, you know, and which is interesting because that's not a small business, but it is kind of like an arm of that where they've tried different things. And instead of, you know, partnering with, so I bring up that, you know, my biggest project, the movie theater project that we partnered with Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers didn't want to do their own thing. They wanted to partner with somebody who already knew what they were doing. So I just feel like these big companies don't necessarily know what the really important stuff is because they're not doing market research. So it's like the small businesses, the ones that start up and do these projects, actually have done the due diligence. Well, not all of them, but the ones that are successful have looked into like what actually is selling. And it's just like any other business from the dawn of time. Like, if you can't figure out what people want, how the fuck are you going to sell them something that if they don't want it, then they're not going to buy it, and then it's going to be a, you know, shit show. And it's even worse now with so much visibility and so much like, you know, on-chain analytics that you can just see what people are buying and what they're not buying. And you can go on Twitter and you can, you know, so much of this stuff, you know, just we've talked about this. It's really like gathering information. We have these discussions and these conversations, and it's like, if you don't absorb what we're all saying here, then what the fuck are you doing on Twitter Spaces, right? So I know that was a big, long explanation, but I think it goes to like every time somebody gets into the space, I'm using air quotes, you know, they think they understand it, but there's no market research, and that's what ultimately fails. Oh,
I
Sabette
mean,
is here. Let me tell you about the right way to market. That my friend Sabette, like, if you guys have ever met me in person, you've seen my tattoo that goes down my arm. That is an original Sabette. Friend, what is up? Like,
Hi,
he's
Brooke.
the
Hi, Jess.
master at marketing these projects. So,
Oh, you're too sweet.
Master. Welcome, Sabette.
Thanks for having me, guys. I decided to look up the Game of Thrones NFTs again. I'd seen a couple of the pictures, and um, I think maybe somebody just wanted to sabotage the entire thing. This is not good. I mean, it's only the hands that are really horrible, which I thought it was part of the thing. Maybe it's a magical spell that somebody did after the mint. So, who knows?
I was gonna say, Sabbath, like it doesn't matter how much research you do, like the art, the designer, like the just look at the fucking hands. Do you see the hands of that big org
I mean,
or
how did
the
I just don't understand how that got away from
yeah,
the team.
I know, right? What
Like,
the fuck?
I mean, I used to work for, big agencies and there's like 1,700 people like looking over your work before it goes out, right? And imagine this happening.
And
Um,
Sabat, we have a close mutual friend that
I know, I know.
uh
Yeah, I know. I mean, she was very excited at the event
yeah.
and then I got to meet the team that was behind this, I think, as well at the show. The executives and everybody else was there. Um, but like you said, there are some that come and some that go, and they might fix this and they might troll everyone and just update uh, the metadata and the images become amazing or something. Who knows? There's
Sabbath,
always a way to fix things, right?
I'm all about the juicy
Always.
details. I'm all about the juicy details. So was there a presentation where there was the I don't know the product managers was there something like that and then they revealed it to them? Were you part of that meeting?
No, no, we were at a party and just got to meet the a few of the executives and the top level guys were just there, including our friend who was there to meet,
Did you see
introduced
the
us.
reaction? Like, what was the reaction? What was the mood?
The mood, I think everybody was having a good time. It was Paris
It
Hilton's,
was a
what was it?
party.
It was a party. It was like Paris Hilton's, not birthday, but anniversary or something, event that I accidentally got
So
invited to last minute.
Listen, after a few drinks, NFTs look better too, right? Isn't that how it works?
Yeah, maybe everybody's microdosing on the team.
are the images AI generated?
Yeah, even yeah, because the AI doesn't do hands very well, does it?
I
Uh,
mean,
Facts. Oh my God,
That
that's
was
so
it.
true.
yeah, well, who knows? But it's definitely, exciting to see. And it sold out, guys. I mean, I don't know the whole story.
oh my god.
I believe it did sell out. I'm pretty sure it did.
And
Adding Degen into
Well,
that.
I thought it was a box. So you bought the box. So you didn't know what the art looked like. So in the box, you get one of the figurines, one, I don't know why, but they have like a material. You can have a fabric or meat or metal, and then something else. It was like three items in one box. So, and the box looked beautiful. Like if you see it, you're like, that's legit, that's good shit. But I don't think you knew what you're getting until the reveal. So yeah, anyway, so yeah, it sold out because it looked legit, and I mean it's Game of Thrones for fuck's sake. I mean, that's good shit right there. But yeah, thanks for the details, man. Paris Hilton's party, yeah. Wow, that's big.
I
Oh,
mean,
he's a very big deal.
That's all DeFi cares about is Paris was there? Okay.
You know
Actually,
what? She follows me on Twitter.
so I'll tell you a
oh,
story.
Ooh,
no.
We
is
Slide in her
initially
uh,
DMs.
we initially met her, me, Gabe, and a couple other of us were invited to a private event at by OGN, Origin Protocol, a couple of years ago in Miami. So I drew for her, and she actually said, Sabit, that's hot, and she held it. There's a video. I can post it up somewhere. That was the first time I met her, but I got invited through some of the guys. Like Warhuddle had a booth there, so they got a ticket. And I'm local. I'm about an hour away, so I'm like, I'll drive down. But when I walked in, I was early. So I was wearing all black, like t-shirt and whatever. So I basically walked in with the crew and I got to like hang out with her doing all her poses and things like that. And I took some video and pictures, but uh, I just basically stumbled upon getting invited last minute and it was cool. It was like a fun carnival theme at Santa Monica Pier. It wasn't like, I was personally invited by anyone on their team, but it was cool to be there. It was like free In-N-Out burgers.
He just like
Uh,
walked in, like, "What's up?
I,
I'm
I lit
Sabat."
I literally, I'm hard to miss. I'm like 6'6", like 300 pounds. But maybe they just thought I was part of the crew. They're like, "Are you part of the crew?" I'm like, "Yeah." I just kind of shook my head and walked in. I was invited, but it was like a secret back door to this carnival. It was really cool. I have a little video of it I put up, I think, on my Instagram, of the
Awesome.
night. Yeah, fun.
Yeah, we had Origin Protocol here, I believe, like last month, and they talked a little bit about how they worked with Paris and 3Lao on some of their projects. So yeah, interesting that it all comes full circle. But yeah, Daniel. So Paris Hilton follows Daniel. Thank you for sharing that with us, Daniel. But yeah, that's what's happening with Game of Thrones. So hopefully they make it right and move forward. I did see something else, and Daniel, you might find this one interesting. That WhiteClaw, the beverage, is filing for trademark for NFT and other virtual goods. And maybe this is a question to like the group, like how do you see um, beverages or liquors, like how do you see them like integrating with NFT technology?
Uh, I think that it works really well. I did a collection called Board Ape Vodka Club, where I did a collaboration with Trust Me Vodka, and I minted the NFTs, and then I actually deliver the physical signed collectible boxes of vodka. And it worked out well. I mean, we had, a lot of pre-sales and everything else, and I basically sat here and signed a bunch of boxes and packaged them and sent them in. Now they're going to probably scale it. I mean, this was very difficult for me to do physically. I still have like 50 boxes left in my studio. But I think that it worked really well because people connected to the brand, and then the bottles always shine with art, right? Art always looks good on bottles for some reason. So I think it's going to do well.
When we were out
Great
when
point.
we were out in California, I kept seeing we were right by the Fred Siegel store and where we were staying, and I kept seeing ads for Board Ape, this water that they were advertising on this like rolling screen that they had going. So it's so funny. Dave noticed it first. He's like, "Hey, I think they have Board Ape water." So I kept like watching out the window to see it. But I mean, it did obviously catch my attention because it was Board Ape.
That's awesome. Go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt. Can I get one of those boxes? How can I buy? I am like I love vodka and vodka loves me back. So how can I?
DM me and I'll send you a link to the NFT. It's on OpenSea. If you search Board Ape Vodka Club, you'll find it. I don't know if I have any listings, but if I don't, just hit me up.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'll search there. I thought it was more of a okay. Anyways, yeah. I'll get into OpenSea.
Look at that. Daniel searching for some vodka NFTs. Yeah, I think drink NFTs will do good. Like I would sign up to a wine NFT club or something like that. Like hell yeah, I'll do
I
that.
think Stoics is doing a wine, Jess.
Ooh, I gotta check that out.
Yeah, I think you'll like that.
So
Stoics.
I got a question for all of you, right? So there's something that has been going on. I think since ChatGPT came out and like these AI things, right? Generative AI images being generated AI. What do you guys think about how that is going to affect like the NFT marketplace like in the future? Because it looks like people are kind of making an argument that hey, with AI generated images, it's going to take away the time that it takes to do good art, and it's also going to take much away from the originality of art, right? I just wanted to kind of understand what you guys think about that, or do you have any views of how that could maybe affect the NFT marketplace in the future? Yeah.
Go ahead, whoever wants to chime in, feel free to.
So
I think the market's going to have to decide that. I'll be honest with you. Personally, I prefer it both ways because the artificial intelligence art isn't horrible and it allows people to do something on the side, but the market is going to pretty much decide. Like there are certain things that I look for when I buy an NFT or like when I buy art, and if it's original, if like there's a lot of things. The process is pretty much my what I look for. You know.
Yeah, one thing I would add to that is AI can copy style that already exists. You can say, hey, I want to mix up Caravaggio and Van Gogh or some other stuff like that. But as Nico was pointing out, it can't be original. It can't be its own artist and create new things per se. It's always going to be based on something that it already has in its database of data and information. So I think if you're an artist, it then creates the challenge of being original and not being copied too quickly by AI so that dilutes your value. But yeah, I think those questions are going to be asked, and that goes beyond NFTs. There is something called Leonardo AI, and it's for gaming. If you want to do in-game assets, it's very painful to do it. It takes time, it takes hours. Imagine like you have swords and shields and all kinds of stuff, right? You need to design them, and it takes a long time. With Leonardo AI, it's like ChatGPT. It takes 5 seconds, and you have tens of thousands of shields and swords that look very unique and well designed. So I think it raises the question of how do we know what's original? How do we keep separating like what's actual like original from a copy? And it just challenges artists to be better.
Exactly, and that was kind of the point, right? You like original things, but how do you tell? Because you can always have an idea, right? And you kind of prompt it into an AI for it to kind of generate an image, right? But how do you tell how an image was actually created, right? The time that was put in it and its originality. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
mean, that's not something you track with an artist. Like, you don't ask a traditional artist, like, how long did it take you to do this? But we have some hands up. Let's see what everybody else thinks. NFT Cutie, you're new up here. I'll go to you first.
Yeah, GM. So what I think is uh, uh, minting a copy or minting a copied art that enhances the popularity of the original art and I came across a platform today wherein you can mint a copy of any blue chip NFTs via putting the OpenSea link, and the copy's value increases on every mint. So I am bullish on copies and don't know about others.
All right, thank you for sharing. Go ahead, Will, you're up.
I honestly think this is a tired line of questioning. Is an AI art destroying art? Blah, 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 blah. I think it's a tool. I think it's just like any other tool. You don't have to use it if you don't really fuck with it, man. It's just like Photoshop. Like people were decrying Photoshop when it first came out. People were decrying like synths for music when they first came out, you know? And so I think it's just a tool. It doesn't have to be used if you don't want to use it. And bada bing, bada boom.
I completely agree with you. Go ahead, OX. I mean, not OX, sorry. You already went. Go ahead, Nico, and then Daniel.
I want to just give a different example, like because everybody's bringing this AI example. I want to give it an old one, but it's the same concept. So, like, one of the forms of art that's kind of died is not sculpting, but carving into wood, right? And like all of this, they've created machines and they're mass producing it, and they've created moldings and molds, and like you really can't find somebody that carves anymore, right? But I know that there's certain like cultures where it's their tradition to carve, and believe it or not, it's in Egypt, and they carve wood, and there's no wood in Egypt. Like there is, but it's very hard to get wood. But for some reason, they're known for this. you know. So like some things never die, you just have to look for it, and like the art will never die itself. You
I
get
think
you,
that's a great example. Completely agree with you. Go ahead, Daniel.
I was gonna talk about vodka, but the situation is different, so
No, go ahead. You could talk about vodka. We could change it back to vodka.
no, that's fine. Well, my question was for Sabit. There's two editions. There's the ape, and there's like a personal one that you have.
Yeah, there,
Okay.
there is actually two editions.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
just DM me and we'll
Yeah,
discuss it
DM. Hey, if you
privately.
have questions
Yeah,
about his collection, just DM
yeah,
me.
yeah.
Hey, Jess, you don't want to be the vodka
Yeah, we're not selling booze here tonight.
middleman,
It's
middlewoman?
only 12 o'clock. I'm not thinking about vodka just yet.
Yeah, and by the time you get it, I don't think you're gonna want to drink these. Um, uh, on the AI front, at first, when I saw it, I was like, "This is cool. This is scary." You go through all the different emotions, and then you start using it, and just like again, Photoshop. I was on Illustrator and Photoshop in 1999. Now I'm aging myself, but that Illustrator 8 and Photoshop whatever 3. And it is a tool, and a lot of people like barked at photographers back then. They're like, "Oh, if you're using Photoshop, you're not a real photographer." Well, now I don't think you can find one image by most photographers that hasn't been at least edited, 2% or color corrected or whatever. For me, as an artist that's already fairly I do a lot of work, so I create a lot consistently, uh, and I like creating fast because I want my ideas out. It's given me an opportunity to see some of those ideas a lot faster. Now, at the beginning, when I was putting in prompts and seeing the work, I felt like, this is going to get generic real fast, and there's just going to be a ton of this shit out there, and people are going to notice that this is AI generated. Then I started playing with, I learned how to upload my own artwork to the AI and generate based on my own artwork. And I found the results to be really cool because it started to expand my world and my vision of my own work. And then I started to build on top of that. So the piece that I just tweeted right now, a couple hours ago, you'll see it. It's called, the one is called Stardust, and the other one is called Tokyo Drift. Both were helped by AI, but they were generated based on my own artwork, and then I went back in and I built on top of it. And I have no issues talking about it or sharing it because it basically put out something in my own style, but elevated to a certain degree where I can again work off of it and elevate my own work. And I feel like the thing is that the things that it generated, I can draw. So I don't feel bad about using it because I could have drawn that. It just sped up my process. So I think on that level, it's really cool. And also, if you want to see ideas that you've never seen before, so you can kind of get a concept of what it's going to look like, that's great. An elephant riding I don't know, a unicorn in the sky. I want to see what that looks like or whatever. So you can see it and then you can create based off of it. I think that's really cool. But the rest of it will basically filter itself out. The human psyche will start picking up on stuff that's not original. We are very sophisticated machines. If you notice it, work that's been more layered or been more worked on or has a lot of energy, frequency, and vibration that's built into it long term, you're going to notice which ones have soul and which ones were just created. And as far as copying other artists, for me, I'm totally okay with people copying my work, sharing my work. The more it's out there, the better. If people love it that much, then great. If you want to put it in the computer and generate work based off of my work, that's amazing. So I have, I'm all about infinite capacity and capability. So that's my take on it. But I know that there's a lot of artists on Instagram that have started this whole anti-AI thing where they feel ripped off or they feel like it's on the, I remember one of my friends is like really exploring his concepts that he was doing. And he's an amazing 3D artist himself and a fine artist in New York, museum galleries and everything. And now he's experimenting with AI and getting everything that was in his head out into the world. And I remember reading a comment that said, "Oh, you're doing this on the back of other artists' work." And I didn't necessarily agree with that because, yeah, it's learned from other art, but it's not that art anymore. It's like me looking at somebody else's piece and being inspired and learning some techniques and then moving forward and doing it my way. Anyways, that's a long-winded way.
No, totally agree. And it's great to hear from like an artist perspective. I did not know about that Instagram movement going on, but I could definitely
Yeah,
understand.
they're wilding out there, bro. This is a
Uh,
wild west out of Twitter, or not out of Twitter, but on Facebook and Instagram. They are really campaigning against it.
that's insane. But I do see Nkechi came up here. Welcome and good morning. How's it going?
It's good. It's good. Good morning, GM, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, I love the talk. Is it cool if I just chime in real quick on the
Of
AI? I'm sure
course.
you're.
Go ahead.
One thing about Jess, she gonna move on to the next topic, so I'll be quick.
No,
Um,
you got the stage. No
Okay,
worries.
cool. I liked all the inputs. I don't know, the further we go into the AI aspect, the more I start to like my thoughts on it have kind of started to evolve, right? Like, is AI like replacing authenticity, or is this just what evolution looks like? At the end of the day, the artist has been the center of everything for over a millennia. Like, this is not a joke. Like, I think it was Nico that brought up carving, sculpting with the hands. And that's become like a fine art now. And then you have the people that know the difference between different paint styles and all that stuff. But if we're going to talk about copying, I mean, Picasso was stealing concepts from African sculptures, like literally face to face. Like, you can literally line up his concepts with African sculptures from like thousands of years prior to him. This entire world has been built from people stealing from each other. And maybe like I have that perspective as a person of color and as well as like an African. But at the end of the day, AI kind of feels like vengeance, to be honest with you. And it's kind of crazy because like we would love to be able to say, like, everyone just in their own lane. It doesn't matter whether or not, if you don't want to use it, it's a tool. And like, I believe in that too. But at the same time, it's kind of like that, that person that comes out as transgender, and they were born a man, but they come out as transgender, and now they're fighting women in MMA. So like, cool, that was your decision, but now it's directly affecting other people's income and also their health. So I don't know. This is strange, but at the end of the day, I think that people's energy is better spent. I didn't see the gentleman that was speaking before, but I love the concept of the fact that, I think it was Sabet. I think you said that everything I generate is stuff I can already draw. So, I mean, think about how many times you're limited because you have to start from scratch every single time, when the truth is you could be developing your art, right? So I think that there's a lot of different perspectives, but for the person that decides to continue to be the starving artist, one thing I learned through the NFT boom, when it kind of started really, really picking up steam in 2020, is the fact that it's not cute to be a starving artist anymore. Being a starving artist now is simping on a major level, and people don't feel as much like remorse for it anymore, because it's just simply, it almost denotes laziness at this point. There's too many tools for you to handicap yourself. And I can't remember who brought up the concept, Photoshop, but I remember when they used to flood Photoshop. And now, like, if your photo doesn't have Photoshop attributes, you're not getting hired. If you don't know how to use, like, nobody's looking for you. Forget Photoshop. Let's talk about Illustrator. Let's talk about Dimensions. Let's talk about all these other things. 3D art coming out from Adobe. They already have their own AI. So, I mean, not necessarily using AI to render art, but knowing that there's aspects of your art that can be enhanced, and that at the end of the day, the truth is, what this is exposing is that the future is for the storytellers. So the person that knows how to put in the right prompts to develop their art, I mean, they're going to win, and in the end, and they're going to deserve to, because at the end of the day, if you're still finding ways to avoid tech, you're really just sabotaging yourself, because even 2-year-olds know how to unlock an iPhone and they don't even know their own name. So yeah, that was just my input. This is a cool conversation. I'm here for it.
Yeah, great points. Yeah, I know when we had this conversation last time, I even talked about it from like the photography aspect. Like, when you think about it, back in the day, you had to develop your own film, and then it came to the stage where you took it to Walgreens and they did it for you, and then you had digital cameras, and then you had at-home printers, and it's just evolved. But some of the old styles of photography, like, is still appreciated. So yeah, go ahead, Will, and then we're probably going to move on. Go ahead, Will.
Yeah, this was. I remember somebody's. This is the bit of a topic change, but I was wanting to ask Sabet a question. I hope I'm saying that right, Sabet.
That works. Anyway, you say it.
I'm sorry, man. I don't know, but But no, I wanted to ask, as an artist, do you have any tips for other artists that are coming up on how to market your art? Like 2 or 3 tips.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a basic 3 steps that, I mean, the 3 pillars of any artist or any kind of business, especially art, I think is building an audience, building a community. Those 2 things are different. A community is a close-knit group of people that you meet face to face or online or wherever else, and you actually have a connection and a bond with. And then an audience is people who end up liking your work or loving your work based on the fact that the work is, good and they love it and they connect with it and all of that good stuff. And they'll end up building communities around your work on their own. Second is to educate that audience and community about how you work and what you do and what your work is about. So, videos and updates and Instagram and all of the other stuff should be used more as an educational purpose, uh, in a obviously in a very attractive and however you can put it, right, doing good videos, good photos, good images of your work. And third is to creating programs where people can engage in your work. I don't necessarily get into FOMO or anything like that, but I do, create engaging programs where it makes it kind of exciting for people, creating a positive tension between you and the collector, and having that energy frequency kind of connected and entangled with your collectors, so they know that you're behind the work. Why, and you're excited about and you're in love with the work that you're doing, they're going to pick up on that and feel it. But you also need to build kind of a structured program. Yesterday, I got an email from Chase Bank, and it said something like, put $50,000 in this account, and you're going to get $2,000, but you have to keep it in the account for, I don't know, 3 months. And then, after 3 months, you put it into this account and then you earn $2,000. I was like, wow. And like the matrix of the program is starting to kind of just be really clear. Everybody is constantly running programs. If you signed up for Banana Republic or whatever, they're consistently running these marketing programs and sharing it with you. And if that one doesn't hit right, they're going to try another one. So not giving up is also a huge point. Sometimes, I remember when I started before the NFT world, I was running flash sales on my Instagram every day. Right now, still, I do daily auctions on my Instagram, not because I need to sell, but because I'm consistently keeping my audience engaged and knowing that there is a possibility of them being able to buy it because it's affordable, et cetera, et cetera. So you want to consistently be putting those programs out there. If something doesn't work, you curtail it, you close it off, you move on to the next program, right? And but they have to be authentic. You have to feel them from the bottom of your heart before you do it. As artists, we are creatures of, coming from love. So there has to be love. It shouldn't be just cold marketing by any means, because it's not going to work. And yeah, that's it. I mean, those are the basics of it.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I definitely gleaned and absorbed all of that. And I'm so glad that this is recorded because I'm going to go back and listen to this. But thank you.
Absolutely.
Great questions all around. I know that Nico and JS, you guys had your hand up. Did you have anything to add or had any questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I really appreciated Sabet and Ketch's input on that previous conversation, the AI conversation, and I very much think that I see AI as a tool as well, and it's kind of great to see this from an artist's perspective, right? And I'm thinking that ultimately you're going to stay creative, right? These are all tools that just enhance the work that you do, and ultimately probably some of the art is going to be how you express your idea through text, right? Because many of these AI tools, you're just going to put in text, right? How exactly do you express your idea non-visually but textually to kind of come up with an image, right? I think that's a small transformation that I'm seeing that I think is happening, right? But apart from that, yes, agreed, these are tools you can use to do as much as you can. And yes, they kind of open up. You kind of, can have your wings open and fly with any tool that you want. That was my input. Thanks.
Yeah, I agree. I still think that for these tools to be valuable, like you need to have some type of creative input. Like when you think about Chat GPT, like even looking at the timeline, like you can see who's copying and pasting and putting out tweets, and it just becomes like, okay, like you don't even become interested in that content because it doesn't show any personality in it. So even in the content that we're going to consume in written form, like that's things that we have to be careful for, and it's becoming very more and more transparent the more you use it, who's actually just copying pasting that content out there.
Right.
Go ahead, Nico.
Yeah, actually, I was just gonna say something similar to what you just said, pretty much, and it all goes back to it's people are going to be able to figure out if you know what you're doing or you know what you're talking about. Like another example, and this will go back to LunarCrush, right? You'll see some people, they're giving out some of the most amazing tweets, well thought out, that you'll think they're the smartest people in the world. And then you go in a space and you listen to them, and they're the biggest airheads you've ever heard of in your life. And it's like, what's going on? It's like night and day. So, like, yeah, eventually people figure it out.
Yep. It's going to be interesting to see. Has anybody been dabbling with any like written form AI? I know there's ChatGPT, there's Jasper, there's what's the other one? I forgot. Copy.ai. There's so many, but yeah, I mean, you definitely have to put your own flavor into it.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it just becomes redundant.
Yeah, I've been using it. I've been kind of experimenting with it, both from an image generation, perspective and text generation, right? There is a book for anyone who wants to try. It's called ChatGPT by. Oh God, I'll probably post it in as a comment, right? It's has very good prompts, like if you want to be an artist or like the different personalities that actually ChatGPT can embody, right? To kind of help you kind of figure out what those prompts are. So I've been experimenting with it, and I think over time, yes, you can see those layers of thought. And yes, you would know that this is probably generated by a person who kind of thought things through. I think ChatGPT, I think my most favorite quote about those AIs is, well, they can behave right from a confused college kid to an overconfident professor, while they lie to you at some,
Great
at some
point.
moment.
Oh, sorry. I think you're breaking up. Or it's me?
No, I'm done. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I wasn't sure if you were breaking up or if you were done. Go ahead, Nikeshi. And then I did bring up somebody else, so we'll let them go. And then we do gotta wrap up soon. But go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. Yeah, I just I sorry, even to that point, just a side note, there's actually AI that doxes other AI now. So like for kids that are like, using it for college, and yeah, we actually discovered like a few of them. It's been kind of crazy doing a deep dive on them. So yeah, so like a kid because one of the biggest like splashes that Chat GPT made was in colleges, like kids using it to write their essays, and you really can. So now another op developed an app that's also AI based that can actually check to see if it's Chat GPT. But the thing is that it's not a multi-layer check, right? So if you go and you go to Chat GPT and you create that an article or something like that, this AI can actually run to see if it's from Chat GPT. However, if you take that same article that you created and take it over to, let's say, Word AI, which is literally its only function is to switch up the wordage inside of it. They actually found that those AI couldn't dox that. There is equivalent for art structures as well, but I think that that's why now more than ever it's just important for people to find their solutions, which is why I really liked JSIC when you sorry, I hope I'm pronouncing that name right, but I don't know, JSYK. That's why I really liked that you brought up that idea of oh God, I just completely lost my train of thought. That's the universe telling me to shut up. Thank you guys so much for letting me talk. Bye.
No, but that's cool. Do you know by any chance the name of an app that does do that scrubbing? I would like to scrub some people's posts and see who's
Bro.
using AI.
Bro. Oh, that was the point. Yeah, some people go like they sound brilliant in person. AI is going to create an entire industry of people that are able to fake it till they make it, and it's going to be horrible. It's especially going to be horrible for people in Web3 because so many people keep looking for a messiah instead of trying to become their own. So I mean, imagine the kind of courses that are going to come up, and you know very well that came from ChatGPT. But I actually got it in my notes, Chess. I'm gonna check around for it, and I'll send you one.
Cool, cool. Thanks. All right. What's up, Fan? Is it Fanzo? Did I say that correctly? I can't
You
even
did.
say Avax or Avax, so I'm not sure what it is.
No, you did. You did. No, loving the conversation. Thanks for pulling me up. I
Of
mean, I think
course.
the conversation is great. I actually worked with IBM Watson on a tool that actually is built to actually do what was just discussed about being able to verify if something is AI versus not AI. So I started working with IBM Watson and their machine learning in 2014 on the AI side, right? So there's definitely tools that are out there, but I also I want to throw in. I'm not going to repeat a lot of what everyone said, but if you would have asked me a year ago if I would call myself an artist, I would have bet my entire NFT wallet on it that you would never refer to me as an artist. And I discovered AI art through an NFT project that then got me experimenting with Midjourney. I know I had Sabit on the podcast, and we actually talked a little bit about it. And I was actually through a conversation that we had when I was interviewing him that I started thinking about how could I use it for storytelling as a keynote speaker, and because everything I deliver from a stage is part of the story, and I was just using Canva or graphics online to create my slides, and now all of a sudden I'm really able to level up the impact that I make with my stories, actually telling a story using the prompts to generate a presentation. I actually just gave a virtual presentation 15 minutes ago, or 15 minutes ago, an hour and 15 minutes ago, and it's a really interesting component. And so the more I dove into it, I really found this ability to tap into a creative aspect of me and my life that I never knew I had. And so I know we talk a lot about like AI art from a financial side, and I'm selling NFTs. I have a couple collections of AI art now, and I've sold out a couple times as well. But I will just share, I've had a couple friends pass in the last couple of weeks, and it was tough on my mental health, tough on me individually. And I never had an outlet that I felt was creative, that I wasn't really escaping, but I was actually able to take my love for these people that unfortunately were taken from us too young, and create something that really allowed me to kind of share my love and really create something that's output of the what I was feeling. And I've never had that before at 41 years old. And so I think AI, yes, it can be manipulated. Yes, people are going to use it for shortcuts, but we're also going to see people change behaviors, change how we test kids in school. I mean, it's pretty funny, because we talk about oh my God, kids are using ChatGPT to take tests. I didn't read a damn book in college. I went and got the Cliff Notes, and I read the Cliff Notes, and that's how I got through college. So I think we have to look at things and say, what are we assessing for? How are we verifying someone's knowledge? Is it the fact that they can repeat dates of wars from years ago that they can memorize, or is it because we want them to be great storytellers? Excuse me, be able to make an impact on people. And so I just say, we think about it from the standpoint, and I know this was mentioned before, right? The tools are always evolving. But if someone like Sabit, who I own a bunch of his pieces, and I was lucky enough to be part of that massive airdrop that he had, I have 140 of those in my wallet right now that I get to enjoy. But if someone like him can tap into AI and add some, that can shortcut some things or increase the use of backgrounds, and now we get more of his beautiful pieces out to the world. I mean, that is a benefit as itself, but it's also unlocking for people like me, someone that has ADHD and that's dyslexic, and that for me, writing was always a struggle. Well, now I can use something like Jasper and ChatGPT to facilitate the message, the story, and the impact that I still want to make. And it's still me. We still know that you have to be a prompt poet, and I've spent 600 hours plus in Midjourney. I'm averaging $380 a month in Midjourney just because I'm using it at that level. But for me, it's allowing me to tell stories and make an impact that I never knew was possible. So for anyone that's kind of having that conversation, yes, people are going to misuse it, but every technology since the beginning of time bad people have used it for bad things. The question is like, what are the things that we're going to work with it, and how are we going to use it to make a better impact, unlock more artists, and hopefully, give more people ability to share their stories. So just want to throw it out there. Love the conversation, and excited to see where this continues to grow.
I absolutely love that perspective and completely agree with you. It's like, yeah, like you said, for the school example, like it's not like when you weren't in college, you couldn't pay someone to write a report for you or find a service online. Like if people are going to do cheat or find shortcuts, like they're going to do it regardless of the technology. But really quick, I did bring Art Ann up. So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to go to her first and then we'll circle back to everybody else.
Thank you, GM, or still
Good
G for
morning.
me. Good morning. I always look forward to your Friday spaces nowadays. So, yay. Just really quick on the AI art and actually selling AI art. I feel that it's important for me to recognize as a collector that it's AI art. And I think that's a big thing in the space that we haven't discussed yet. Nothing against Sabbath. I really love the art, actually. The one you pinned to the top, love it. Looked at your profile, went to the listing, and I don't see AI art anywhere. So I'm wondering if that's on purpose. Do you feel like it shouldn't be distinguished? Maybe we can have that conversation. I feel like it should be, if as someone who cares about the process.
Oh, you mean as far as like writing it down that it was AI?
Yeah, identifying it as AI art.
You know what? If it was like pure AI art, I guess, yeah, it would be important. But the way I used it, basically feeding my own art into it just to see a different perspective of my own art and then repainting it. I think it's just a tool. It's like if I did a photo and then right underneath it, I had to write, made by Photoshop or something like that. I think that would be, it just kind of doesn't really work. For me, if it was purely AI art and if I just put in a prompt, yeah, maybe I feel like you might have to put it in there or something. I don't know. That's a good question and a good topic. Maybe I should put, I was helped by AI to come up with this idea. I don't know.
I'm not
Uh,
trying to force you to put that in there,
I'm
but
just I'm,
I
I'm
just think it's a
open open mic
No,
figuring it
but
out with
I,
you.
I think that's a good perspective what you gave, Saber. It's like as a photographer,
the
like would they
Photoshop.
put this was edited by Photoshop or
Yeah.
Lightroom or like using
But we
every
all
listing out
know
every.
it's not creating it. You know what I'm saying? Like we all know what we're doing with Photoshop and all those other. We're changing the lighting a little bit, or we're doing whatever, making it sharp, or
Yeah.
whatever we're
and
doing.
and that and
But
that's why I wanted to use I wanted it to be more of a help and a support to see like another dimension to the work and then creating based on that. But again, it's not something that was 100% AI, right? It is based on my work and then it was worked on again. um but I did want to make one point about AI that everyone I think should realize is that as creatives and as human beings, we're consistently growing and creating and we're tapping into source and creating something new in the now, right? And in the future. It's all the work that we're doing now and we're building for the future. When you're using generated AI stuff, you're working off the past, right? It's stuff that's already been out there. So there's still a lot of room to grow as human beings and in our art journey. So I feel like that's something to think about. That's why it's all, if it's just prompts and things coming out, it's it's slowly gonna look like, everything is gonna look the same eventually. So
but so
figuring that
like
out
as a
is important.
collector, I struggle with because I care about the process. And so when an artist posts something and I like it, I do now, which I didn't do before, question, is this AI? If it's sometimes you can really tell, sometimes it's a little bit questionable, right? But
And you
I
have to ask
care.
yourself, does it matter? Because it is a creative
Yeah,
process still, right? And it is
right.
beautiful. I bought, Farah is doing, there's a artist named Farah. She's doing beautiful work with AI. And it's indiscriminate, you can't tell if it's made, how it's made. And like really doesn't matter. So I started collecting her work. Those are, I think, internal struggles that we go through as collectors and as artists ourselves. And once you get over that hump, like people did over Photoshop or whatever else, what other tool that people have used, um or just the basic of like, is digital art art? That was one of the biggest struggles when I started using my iPhone in 2007 to draw. I mean, I've been doing digital art but I never felt like it was real art for years before I'm like, dude, I really can't keep up and scale my art career if I'm consistently in the studio working on paper, canvas, and whatever. I still do that, but I had to see. And once a very famous, I forget his name right now, a British artist who's 90 years old, he did an iPhone collection. Somebody is going to call out the name of the artist. He did an iPhone collection and he printed them out like, I don't know, 30 feet high and did a huge show. As soon as he did that, I was like, all right, if this guy who's 90 years old, who's been one of the most successful, I think he sold the most expensive painting while he was alive, like $90 million. If he says it's art, it's art. I'm moving on. So yeah, it's just another
I
medium.
I just think right now, just a last thing, I know people have their hands up. For me, what it does is it puts me in an awkward position to have to ask the artist, and most times I don't. I just move on. Is this AI or not? And maybe that's just an image, like a sign of the immaturity, well, of me and the space in general, because I know there's other people who think that way as well.
I
I
think
do
it's
care about the process. And
sorry
go ahead.
about that. I think instead of maybe questioning the artist, it's like go and look at their history, look at their creative past. Have they been building? Have they been doing traditional art? Like uh, look at Picasso, and he was able to create masterpieces and traditional art before he went into doing cubism. He could still draw a beautiful bird with feathers and oil paintings and all that stuff, but he chose to do that, right? To do the next thing. So maybe get to know the artist more instead of like questioning that piece. Like get to know them. Like, do you really like them? Do you love their past work? Does it really matter at that point? So that's it.
Great points all around. That was a good question. Yeah, that I hadn't heard that question come up. So definitely thought provoking. Nico and Death, you guys are gonna have to make it quick because we're coming up to the hour. So go ahead, Nico, and then
I,
Death.
I wanted to tap into that question because I agree with Sabe. Oh, Saber or Sabe? I'm sorry. I'm not sure how to say your name. Uh,
Bet it doesn't matter.
oh, I
you can
bet.
you can call me
Sorry.
Ali. Ali is my first name. It's easier for people.
Well, no, anyone is fine with me. I can pronounce anything. Don't worry about it. But what I
All
want
right,
to
let's
say,
go. Let's make
yeah,
it
yeah,
quick.
yeah. What I was going to ask is, and this is a crazy question, when the paintbrush was created, and were people having the same conversation where they went from figure painting to the paintbrush? Like seriously, like
Yeah, the process evolves. Go ahead, Sabat. I'll let you respond to that.
I agree.
Death, you're up. What you got?
I just wanted to say, AI does not exist without us, right? It's only an extension of ourselves. It's only a tool that we can use as humans. We develop tools to make whatever industry or job that we are doing more proficient. So, don't necessarily, in my perspective, of course, right? Don't not like it because it's an AI art or AI news, in the sense of just because it's AI. Remember, there's still a person or there's feedback that AI took to create that. And to what we were talking about before, like how is the AI going to find the AI? It's funny because AI is creating such perfections in not only the art, right, the way that it types up essays and work, and so the AI is able to say this probably wasn't done by a human because it's so perfect. And so it's one of the that's where they're at right now. But then what happens when the AI makes mistakes on purpose, I think, is going to be interesting.
And then another question that like arises is like have just based on your statement, Death, and then Sabet's statement as well. Do you think that there's some people who have earned the right to use AI? Like I think there's a difference between a kid fresh out of college, that just wrote a book or whatever and wants to use AI versus like Stephen King, You know what I mean? Like that. I mean, that's Stephen King. Like who gonna check him? You know what you
Well,
know?
I
And
think
then at the
so.
same time, his raw talent has already been shown. Like he has a proven track record versus the person that just wants to utilize it to get ahead. I don't know. Anyway, I know Jess, you're heading in another direction, but
What
I
if
was
a
just
kid?
thinking of that.
What if a kid creates his own genre with AI?
Exactly.
But
That's
that's
it.
what I'm
Exactly.
telling you. He
I
starts
think
out that way and he creates his own genre that we never even heard of.
There's
Completely.
kids that are already done it. There's a new version of anime that's out now. You know what I'm saying? Like there's
oh, but
kids that are
so
already doing this.
it's a bit
Right.
that fake it till you make it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm definitely interested in seeing it and using it. I'm sorry, and seeing how it can level up, my business and using it as marketing tools and so forth. But really quick, we'll let Uni go. Uni, what's up? Welcome. Good morning.
GM. Like, I just want to like get into the like AI recognizing AI stuff. So like I started using like ChatGPT for like websites I'm building. I always like sucked at writing, lots of mistake, like unclear sentences. So right now I just like write a sentence and go to like ChatGPT and say like, can you make like more professional, like more genuine and like more clear? And it fixes. And I made websites. And some of my friends says like, oh, do you use like ChatGPT? Because now there are like tools that recognize if something like reduce the SEO, so your site like decrease the possibility to find. And I was like shocked about it because I use like tons of it. So I think that's like also like a challenge, like detecting the AI written text and like elevating yourself while adding some like little twists. So I changed some sentences, some things. I don't know if it's fixed, but yeah, that's like an interesting topic for me. Thanks for letting me sleep.
Thanks for coming by. Appreciate everybody for coming by. Great discussion. I know we could keep this going for hours, but I have to go. My dog's barking in the background, as you can hear. That's my time to go. But I did want to throw it over. I wanted to thank all the speakers for coming. Be quiet. Thank all the speakers for coming. And then wanted to throw it over to Dal and Tammy. Dal has a weekly space on Wednesday about DeFi. Very interesting. Last week, you guys talked about financial NFTs. This week, you talked about institutional DeFi. Do you know what's coming next week?
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. We'll be back Wednesday, 6 p.m. Central European Time, and the topic will be DeFi on Layer 2. So should be interesting. And just to touch on what you guys talked about, I checked your art tablet, so I honestly don't care how much AI was involved. I think it looks amazing, so I'm definitely going to check out your collections.
Thanks. I think it was 27% AI.
Imagine having to put that like as an open C,
A disclaimer,
characteristic.
right?
Like
On
this
the
was
MSRP.
27% AI. That's funny. Wait, what was I doing? Oh yeah, so Dal went. Then I was gonna go to Tammy. Sorry, the dogs are distracting me. What's up, Tammy?
That's okay. I couldn't pop on either because my dogs, hopefully you guys can hear me because I think I keep cutting out.
Yeah, you sound good.
Okay, good. Perfect. My dogs were barking too. The UPS man just came through, and I swear to God, they know the sound of the UPS truck and the FedEx truck like no other because they think that they're getting a Chewy box each time. So they go nuts. But great conversations today. I wanted to thank everybody for coming by. Sabette, I want to check out your art. I was kind of going through a little bit of it. It looks amazing. But I also have to check out LunarCrush now. So I did my scan, so it's been a little while. I have to go check that. I actually got the app a while ago and I just hadn't really been back into it. So just interesting conversations today. And I appreciate everybody coming by and hope everybody has a great weekend. And you guys can all join us next Friday.
Yeah, if in case anybody joined late, we did have LunarCrush join the stage earlier, and they're a social intelligence app that track social metrics for crypto and NFTs and stocks. And you'll see some of my posts that I put up there. Not happy that Solana is in my top coin mentions, but I'm definitely going to change that for
I was
next week.
happy. I was happy.
I know. I
had to
saw you
exploit that.
repost that. So yeah, I'm gonna go comment on those posts when I'm done here. But I did want to thank everybody for coming. We'll definitely be back next week. Shout out to my partners at Binance US. And just another thing, I am planning a new show. It's going to be different topics. So for next week, I'm thinking of doing a show about podcasting and content creation. So if anybody's interested in being a part of this panel, a lot of content creators and podcasters here, shoot me a DM and we'll try to set something up for next week. I really appreciate everybody. Enjoy your Friday. Thank you to all the speakers and listeners.
Thank you, Jess. Thank you, Tammy.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Thank you,
Have a good
Take care,
Jess.
weekend.
guys.